Welcome. We are glad that you have chosen to take some time this Sunday afternoon to join us. I hope over the next little bit that you will be blessed we have a few wonderful presentations scheduled for you, hopefully you can learn some things, and we look forward to be able to engaging with you this afternoon. I know 2020 was a difficult year for the nation, internationally, as well as, of course, our churches having to transition from going to virtual church. And so today we want to be able to provide a few resources and maybe help in taking it to the next level for how you can share your church services, your worship experiences through the broadcast and through the internet.
We want to also absolutely welcome everyone who is participating from all three of our conferences, Southeastern, Central, and Northern California Conference. This is a collaborative event, and so we want to welcome all of our pastors and members who are attending. If you find something that you feel is interesting and you want to share it, please text it to all of your colleagues to invite them to come and join. It is going to be the next 3 hours, and the speakers and presenters have some amazing information to share. And we also have some fabulous giveaways, so make sure to pay attention to some of our questions.
And if you want to, if we want to be interactive in this event, if you have any comments, this presentation is being streamed on multiple different YouTube's channels, as well as Facebook channels and Facebook pages. So we invite you. It doesn't matter which one you're on. It doesn't matter if you're on Central, Northern, or Southeastern California Conferences channel, YouTube, or Facebook. We have a way to be able to see that. So we invite you. Type in your questions. Type in your comments. We like to hear from you. Our presenters will be looking for that, and we will have at the end of the presentations, we'll have some time for questions and answers, because at the end of the day, we want this to be very practical for you. We want this to be something that you can walk away with and actually have something tangible, something that helps you in your local church to be able to take your live stream to the next level. So we welcome you. We're grateful that we're here. Maybe let me just take a few minutes. There's a few of us that are going to present. So maybe let me introduce some of them. Maybe I'll start with myself. My name is Anno Mueller. I'm the Communication Director at the Southeastern California Conference. With me right now on the screen is Lori Trujillo. I'm really glad that she's here. Lori is the Communication and Development Director of Northern California Conference. I will be presenting a workshop on video, how to do video and video editing. Lori will be talking a little bit about engagement. Also, we have Sergio Cano, who is the Creative Arts Director from Central California Conference. So here's the three conferences that are putting this event on for you. We fortunately don't have to do this all on our own. We have some other presenters that we have as well. So I'm going to maybe pick next on Barone Savory. He's a pastor in Southeastern California Conference. He's at the Valley Fellowship Church. And Barone is going to talk a little bit about live streaming. He's going to talk about live stream basic. He's going to give you some tools, some ideas for those of you that are still trying to maybe figure out some elements. For those of you that want to take it a little bit further, want to go to that next little level, I am glad that we have Danilo Braga with us. He's a video engineer from Loma Linda University Church, and he will be presenting live stream advanced. And then another presentation is going to be by Bryant Taylor. Bryant Taylor is the media pastor for the Azure Hills Church here in Southeastern California Conference. BT, or also known as BT, he is going to present for us. He'll be part of my presentation, and he's also going to do some tech talk. If you've not seen one of Brian's tech talks, you are in for a treat. These are little gadgets. These are little devices that BT, over his many years of experience of media work in the Adventist Church, where he's picked up and has kind of curated the best tools that he's going to recommend some of them to you. So you do not want to miss that. Of course, we have the privilege also of having Julie Lorenz with us. Julie Lorenz is the Associate Communication Director at the Northern California Conference. And so we're grateful for that as well. Before we maybe start, so these are the presenters. Here's kind of what we're going to share with you over the next 3 hours, and we're going to spend some time with you guys. But before we maybe dive into the meat of the matter, let's invite our Lord. What we're doing here is for ministry purposes. We want to expand the kingdom of God. We want to figure out ways that we can reach out to people better. So let's perhaps start this afternoon with a word of prayer.
Let's all bow our heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I ask that you come into this meeting, your Holy Spirit, let it work through all of the virtual lines and all of the people that are watching today. And Lord, I ask that you bless the words and hope that what we are going to do will further your work here in all of these 3 conferences, as well as throughout the entire world, as we work on ministering to others during this very complicated time, this time of change. But Lord, you are 100% in control. And so we ask for your blessing and your Holy Spirit, the power of your Holy Spirit to work during these next 3 hours and beyond. In your name I pray, amen.
Okay, well, I will start with the first presentation. I am privileged to share with you basics of video shooting and editing. Feel free to this. I will pose a few questions. So if you have some questions, feel free to put them into the comment section and I'll be happy to engage with you on that. A question that I get fairly frequently. So I mentioned earlier, I'm the communication director at Southeastern California Conference. I have the privilege at times to, well, pre-pandemic, I had the privilege to be much more around and visit our churches. And I did a lot of photography. And so a question, and then the last 11, 12 months, I think I've been stuck yet again behind the camera, but much more to do videos for our office here in Southeastern. And a question that I get all the time is, what kind of equipment should I use? Or maybe even the idea of what should I get next? And there's a photographer that I really appreciate who actually has a really, in my opinion, really clever response. He says the best camera or the best equipment, in essence, is the equipment that is with you, that you have available for you. And so there's a lot of things that we can do with the equipment that we already have, that we have access to. But maybe let me talk about some basic principles of what we can do, some ideas of how we can maybe enhance, how you can enhance the video ability. Now, some of these tips that I'm sharing with you are going to be beneficial both for live streaming and for pre-recording. When I look through the churches that we have in the Southeastern California Conference, in more particular, when I've looked over the last 11 months, I've seen churches that do things very differently. We have some churches that do everything live stream. We have some churches that do a live stream and video packages or videos, pre-recorded videos. Let me maybe be more specific. They do that hybrid idea. And then we have some other churches where almost everything they do is pre-recorded, packaged together, and released on Sabbath morning. So there's a few different things. I hope no matter which category your church fits into here, if it's all live stream, if you're in the hybrid version or all pre-recorded, I hope nevertheless that some of these tips will be something that is going to benefit you. A question, and maybe I'll throw this out really quickly, and I'm curious to see if any of you out there want to answer this question. What do you think are some of the most important elements for a good video? So I'm going to give you just a few seconds. I'm going to see the comment section. I want to see if any of you have any ideas. What are the most important elements that you look for, that you know to look for to determine what a good video looks for? Any ideas? So I'll start maybe with giving away one of the elements that I think sometimes we often don't think about is audio. having good sound is something really, really beneficial. Thank you, Jerome. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. You got that right. Good sound is incredibly, incredibly important. I see some of your comments, and we're going to get to that. Several of you have actually said lighting, good lighting. Having a good balance of being able to see the subject and not have too much shadow on their face, or the background being what draws our attention, is really, really important. Stabilization. And what I mean by stabilization is, and I think I saw this as well, I think Sue Schramm said steady and clear shots. That's what stabilization is. Not having something that's super shaky, but having something that's really nice and stable. And then finally, I think a few of you have mentioned this as well. I think I saw this, where was this? There was somebody who said focus. Again, Jerome, actually, the picture needs to be in focus. In our day and age today, where we live in, where we have, 1080, 4K, and now even there's some elements, some TV monitors that are even going into 6K and beyond, focus is incredibly important. So I'm going to go through these 4 little elements here really quickly, maybe just to highlight some of the things that you may want to watch out for. So let's start with audio really quickly. And by the way, thank you for your participation. Much appreciate that you guys are active on the comment section. I would say many times audio is one of the most understated elements, or maybe even sometimes ignored elements when you look at videos. But I would venture to say, if you've surfed through YouTube and you have, kind of gone from video to video into video, you will eventually run into a video where you've been a little bit frustrated because the video quality may have been good, but the audio is pretty rough and pretty difficult to follow. And it's not unlikely that we would then just hit skip to be able to go to the next one. It's so important that in some of the larger productions, there's audio engineers and people that just simply make sure that the audio is clean. So here's a few tips that you may want to pay attention to. If you want to have good audio, make sure you go to a quiet space. Now, this was much easier in the pandemic, where we could be in more isolated rooms, where we could be a little bit closer, and we could find a spot where it was a little bit quieter. And so, but nevertheless, no matter where you record, no matter if you're recording yourself or somebody else, here's a few things that sometimes create ambient noise. I would always suggest whatever you can turn off, turn off. Overhead lighting, sometimes, not always, but sometimes overhead lighting has a little bit of a buzz in it. And if you listen to it a little bit later and when you're video editing, you're like, what is that buzz that's just kind of humming there? Sometimes that is the incandescent lights that are above your head, and that may be in the office that you're shooting, in the church that you're at. Cell phones, of course, are notorious. We all have them with us, and all you need to do is get a text message, and next thing you have some kind of buzz, you have some kind of ding, and there's your audio interruption.
And one that I would add there is that people often think about, and that is the AC that runs in the room will give you problems with your audio, because if you have good quality mics, it will pick up the AC running in the background.
Thank you, BT. I did not actually mention that. But yes, you're absolutely right. AC, unfortunately, these days with LED lights, we don't have to sweat it out as much as we used to several years ago, when that was not necessarily the option. But I know in my office, for example, we still run with the light bulbs that actually heat up quite a bit. But one of the things you want to do also, thank you for that comment. That was really well done. Also, there's, of course, this idea that you can record with a mic. What you want to do is, anytime I do any video production and I know I'm going to capture a voice, I want to get capture that voice in the best possible way, in a rich, natural tone. And sometimes I shot a video just this past Thursday, and I was outside, and the wind was a little bit picked up a little bit here around our office building, and leaves were turning. And just that turning on the cement was so bad that I actually had to get out a broom clean up the walkway a little bit, because the distraction of that noise of those dead leaves just scratching on the concrete was bad enough to be able to create a distraction in the audio. When you're recording audio, you can do two different things. You can record straight into the camera. Sometimes there's some plugins. You can plug microphones right into the camera jack, or sometimes you can also record them separate. If you do, we can talk about that a little bit in post-production. You need to just figure out how to align them. There's two really good ways to do this. The simple way is simply to clap in front of the camera, the lens. There's a loud, you see the point of contact of the two hands and you hear the clap. And that's a really good sync point that you can put the two together. But if you don't have to go down that road, just record right into the camera that you have. Of course, we talk about lighting. Several of you mentioned that lighting is incredibly important. Being able to see the subject clearly is important. But you know what? It's really interesting. When I go to churches, and I've been through many of our churches here in Southeastern California Conference, many of our churches have a common mistake, and that is that they turn up the lights too much. And when you turn up the light too brightly, what ends up happening, the contours of our faces start kind of disappearing. And the beauty of who we are, the individualistic characteristics, be it our nose, our cheekbones, and so on, they kind of start to go away if you push too much light into people's face. So be careful not to do too much light. If you are doing lighting, and this is more studio lighting, this is more indoor lighting, when you're at the church or in a back room and you have the ability to do that. Know the difference between key light, fill light, and backlight. Sometimes it's nice to have more light on one part of the face, a little bit less light on the opposite side of the face, gives a little bit more texture, a little bit more contour. And then depending on the background, you may want to put some background light on the person just to set them apart from the background that you have. But you know what? 2020 threw us, I think, all of a curveball. So for example, for me, I did a lot of video production outside. So the question is, how do you control lights outside? And you know what? I always love the days. Like right now, it's a little bit of an overcast day here where I'm at in Riverside, California. And it's always nice when it's a little bit overcast because light is diffused and it looks nice. Like when you do a recording, it can look really good. But since we are in California, we know that overcast days are harder to get to than in other places of the country. So here's a suggestion when you deal with bright sunlight, because the challenge is if the sun is out really, really bright, we have very hard shadows, and very hard shadows make for a very poor video. So here's something that you can do. If you have a full tree with rich leaves and like it creates nice, thick shadow, you can put somebody under a tree. Be careful if there's gaps in the leaves and there's like pockets of light that are on their shoulders or on their face, you want to try to avoid that. You can also set up an easy up. I think I have a picture a little bit later of what I've done with my boss. And I'll show that to you. I've actually put her under an easy up. That's how I can create fairly level lighting and consistent lighting. And that actually helps quite a bit. When you shoot, it's really advisable. I know there's a new trend to shoot out of the hand, but I would say that is in the very precipice of the cutting edge people. And these are very seasoned professionals. For those of us that are not at that level, that are not the very extreme professionals, I would really recommend use a tripod. Shooting out the hand or shooting from the hand is really not advisable. There's too much shaking. And having a video that we look at can make you seasick on the other side if you look at a video and you can just see bobbing up and down. Oh, here's the picture that I was mentioning to you. This is the setup that I kind of do on a weekly basis for the update videos that have come from our conference. You can see I have a tree that's kind of there, but I have an easy up where my boss is placed under. She can speak there. She's mic'd up with an external microphone. So I have a clean audio source. I have good shade on her upper body. Her face is nicely, there's nice richness in and the lighting in her face, and there's no harsh lighting if you look at her directly. If you want to do moving shots, sometimes it's fun to be able to, walk around, do a walkthrough, do the behind the scenes kind of video. Sometimes that's kind of fun. I would strongly recommend that you purchase either a gimbal or you purchase something else. And this gets a little bit more complicated, but it's tracks. It's basically like putting down almost railroad tracks. You put a little tripod on it and you can push the camera around. It gives for a very smooth effect. It looks really, really nice. But honestly, these days, like in the picture, if you have one of those gimbals, that you can get them for a DSLR, and you can get them for cell phones as well, and you can get some really nice footage that way. So my recommendation is don't shoot out of your hand. It is a little bit tricky because you can get that lack of you can have the shakiness within the video. Focus. Focus is incredibly important. Recently, I looked at some old National Geographic's images, and I noticed, this was back from the 80s, some of the magazines from the 80s, and I noticed that I was not as happy. These are images that I grew up as a child, and I thought, man, these are amazing pictures. When I was a child, they were amazing pictures. Coming back to it and looking at it from today's perspective, where we have pictures that are shooting at such a high pixel, and it is not 100% in focus, it is really challenging to sometimes have the patience to look at things that are slightly out of focus. So focus is really important. I would actually venture to say most of the time, if we're shooting, I use my, even for still photography, most of the time I use autofocus. Autofocus, in the meantime, some of the companies have developed autofocus that is almost better than what we can see with the naked eye. Like, it is incredibly good. So if, unless you are wanting to do something really creative, I would say do not go into the non-autofocus mode, because I think there's very few things that are worse than an out-of-focus video or an image. Now, here on the flip side, if you are doing a pull, and what that means, if you're zooming back out or you're zooming in, and depending on the effect that you want to do, that's a few times when I've noticed having an auto focus actually becomes a little bit distracting, and it does not help as much. But that's one of the few exceptions, and oftentimes that's not a feature that we do that often. Okay, so this presentation, these are just some basic principles of maybe something to keep in mind when you are focused on doing video shooting. Here's a few things I wanted to just share on video editing. I know this is incredibly basic. Some of you are probably way beyond this. Some of you might just be, getting into this a little bit, but you know what? It gives you some kind of basic ideas and some basic tips and tricks. First of all, my recommendation to you is when you do the recording, do it as best as possible. It doesn't matter if it's live or if it's for a pre-recorded show. Make sure that you do all of the settings as best as possible before you actually go live. It is much easier to fix something, to not have to fix something, and to just do it right off the bat. Years ago, I met somebody. This is back when film was still being developed, and this is a master darkroom specialist. And he and I had a conversation, and he says the best pictures that you can take are the pictures that don't need much touch-up or work in the darkroom. You want to get it as good as possible right off the bat. You want to try to avoid having to do too much color correction, because at some point you're going to go to such an extreme that you won't be able to fix that much. The same thing is true with audio. If there's too much distortion, eventually, no matter what you do, once an audio source is distorted, there's not much you can that you can do. And then, of course, framing. If the framing is off, if you have the camera in the wrong spot, whatever is not in the camera shot, you can't recover, right? So sometimes just be very aware. It's better to do it right on the recording side than having to go into the studio and trying to fix all the problems that you didn't do in the first place. So the less you have to do in post-production, perhaps, the less you have to do, the better it is. Here are some things that I'm going to share with you really briefly. This is the video editing softwares that I think are currently the major ones on the market. I would say right now the leading one in the market, from what I understand, is Adobe Premiere. It's not one that I'm as familiar with, but it's a very powerful tool, as most Adobe products are. Of course, there's the product that many of us have known for much longer, which is Final Cut Pro. And finally, there's iMovie. Both Final Cut Pro and iMovie, unfortunately, are only Mac, so those are not available on PC. And I see BT joined us again, so I'm sure you have some insight for us.
So I was going to add one to your list, and that is DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve is web-based, and it is free. That's a very great word for churches. And for people with limited and no budgets, is free. You can find it on the DaVinci site, and it's their top-notch, full-featured linear editing program. Very good option for people to use.
Let me just to be clear, BT, on this, it is available. It runs on both platforms. Or is it just a PC platform? Sorry, I think you are muted. Let me just.
I'm sorry. It's on both. If I'm not mistaken, it is both platforms that you can use it on.
Perfect. Well, so my apologies, but thank you, BT, for jumping in and giving us yet another amazing tip here about one of the softwares that I left off. And that's really good. I'm really glad, because that was one of the things I unfortunately did not, I was worried about this, but I wanted to be able to give a resource of a free PC-based video editing software. So thank you for making us aware of that one.
And you know, for those who out there are at that level, it even runs on Linux.
Okay. So it's on all three platforms, all three major platforms. Thank you for sharing that. So maybe let me walk you through really quickly just a few steps. And these, I know everybody has their own workflow. And I just figured sometimes it's nice. I sometimes want to look over somebody else's shoulder when they do their editing, when they do their thing, just to see how they do it. So these are the steps how I go about doing that. Once I've shot everything, I gather all the videos, all the audio elements. So let's say I recorded it separate. I will pull all the SD cards, start getting the files, put them into a folder, put them into my computer, and put them all into a certain place where I know I can get them. Then I open my program, my editing program, and I start putting things into the timeline. And my first thing that I always do is, before I do any editing, I look at which tracks I'm going to use, and those are the ones I'm going to import. I always apply the color correction before I slice up the video into all these tiny little fragments, because I might do all kinds of different transitions, or I may add a graphic or something like that. So in order to just do if I know I have one solid track, one location that I shot, and it's a universal where I can do an audio preset over it or so on, I do that first so that it's one click and it's all applied to that thing before I start cutting my video and my audio into all kinds of smaller segments. It is then after I have applied the audio and color correction elements that I then go and take out, the mistakes, the restarts. That's when we have long pauses, or when we had to break. I can't tell you how many times we have to break because we're now shooting everything outside. There's a motorcycle that drives by our office. There is a helicopter that flies over our office. Any of those things, we stop. I have to cut that out, and we come back to a little bit later. After I've have now the rough time, like I basically have know how long the video is going to be. That's when I then add the B-roll graphics. That's when I then add, or the B-roll footage. So if I have taken some B-roll footage with the camera, that's when I add that. This is when I also go through. So for those of you that have seen the update videos that we have shared through the conference office. We have quite a few graphics that we insert, and the graphics just break it up. They just make it a little bit easier for the audience to digest, some of the people that are just talking. After I've added all of those elements, I add the lower thirds. So the lower thirds, actually, I'm going to give you an example in the presentation that we're doing right now. Here, I'll bring up my lower third. This is kind of what a lower third is. You bring up the name, you bring up the title of the person, and this identifies the person to who it is. Lower thirds are really, really important. I think I always work with the assumption that even though if it's somebody that I know quite well, that other people may not know who this person is. So a lower third gives credibility. So you see my name, you see what I do, and you see where I work. That gives me credibility. That gives the person that you have in your organization, be it your pastor, be it an elder, be it a ministry leader, be it a church member. Say you do a health show and you do it with a health professional in your church. You want to put a lower third so that people know, hey, this person knows what they're talking about. They have credibility in what they do. That's where the lower thirds come in. Beyond that, even if it's not just about that, you want to know who the person is. So if I'm tuning into your video, I may not know all the people that are in your church. Knowing and having that come up is kind of nice. In essence, it's a different form of a bulletin. It's your way to be able to actually, quote unquote, have a bulletin if people don't necessarily know who is up front. Let me go to the next slide. And then once the lower thirds are added, one of the final things that I do is I add the background music. It's always nice, depending on what you do, how long the segment is. Background music can sometimes be really change the mood of the message. It can uplift it. It can take a message that may be a little bit more somber, serious, and can take it more serious. It can make something a little bit more lighthearted. Your music choice is actually quite important. We don't have time to go into the full scope of how much you can do within the idea of music, but music choices and how you select music is really important. Maybe let me say two things that I think I do want to mention here briefly. When it comes to graphic and background music, just be careful. A lot of this material is copyrighted. So make sure if you use something that either you have permission to use it or you get it from a site that allows you to be able to use either the graphics or the music. Or sometimes there's also now sites where you can purchase B-roll footage. And so if you do any of that, just make sure that you have permission to do that. And then, I do that at the end for all of the videos that come out of this, out of our conference office. At the end, I typically have a slide that identifies that this is part of the Southeastern California Conference. So a lot of times there's a fade in, a fade out at the end. There's the Adventist, the stereotypical Adventist logo comes up with the wording Southeastern California Conference at the end. And that kind of ends what I do for video. But honestly, it's not the end, because you'd be surprised how many times I still find mistakes that happen. So I put this in, I did all the work, and I think it's really, really important I typically review a video more than twice. I review it before I render it or before I process it out and make it an MP4 file or whatever file format I'm using. I normally check it before that, and I will definitely check it afterwards. And here are some things I specifically look for. You want to look for spelling mistakes. You want to look for, and spelling mistakes, of course, are in your graphics and your lower thirds, right? You want to look for audio issues. I don't know why, but sometimes, a program decides something happens, something gets spooked, something changes, and you render a file, and all of a sudden you have some kind of trouble with the audio. And as much as you have that problem, that can also be with the graphics that you insert, or with the B-roll footage. So it is always advisable to go back and to be able to double check and make sure that indeed what you've done is checked your product, your end product. So those are some of the stages, and this is kind of a little bit what I do when I look for shooting a video. These are some of the prep things I do for the both for the video, for the recording part, as well as the editing part. I think I will take a quick look. I'm not sure I see any questions. BT, and do you have anything to add about video production or video?
I was just looking through to see if there were any questions for you, but I didn't see any specific questions come through. Yeah, I didn't see any specific ones come through. So you can introduce our next host and our next presenter, and we'll keep moving.
We will be happy to keep moving. But before I maybe go to our next presenter, I'm just going to say this. Feel free to, in whatever channel you're watching, whatever conference channel you're on, I invite you, continue to comment. We love seeing the comments that have already come in. Feel free to post questions. We will have a question and answer session at the end where we will be happy to do that and to go into with our presenters, and you can ask anything and maybe even ask specific questions, how it works for you right now. I see that question, and I'm actually not going to answer the question because the next presenter is going to be talking about this platform specifically. So I don't want to give away his presentation. So be patient. Pastor Baron Savory is going to be talking about live stream basics, and he is going to be speaking specifically on that. And I see one more question, and you know what? I'll answer this question really quickly, and then any other questions that come in for my presentation, I will handle, or I will answer. I'll be happy to engage with you in the question and answer session. I think that's a great observation. I feel in many of our churches, we either have churches that are too bright because they flood the stage with light, or the flip side is that they are too dark. I think, actually, you know what? BT, why don't you join me on this one? Because I think you've worked a little bit more as a media pastor in the local setting of what changes perhaps you've done in some of your churches. I know some churches, there's a church that I worked with years ago. We installed some lights and post afterwards. We put up into the rafters, we put a truss. We hung some lights, and we just did some work on that a little bit later. BT, in some of the churches you have served, what have you seen as a solution for this?
Yeah, so it just depends on how comfortable your congregation is with some of the things. The best way is to hang a truss and then put your LEDs on the truss, your cans and some of those things. If they're comfortable with it, you can also take the little mini truss, 4 foot wide, hang the lights on that on a tripod stand that's there, and use them to use. But just something to add more light to brighten it up the stage was one of those. It just depends on the comfort level of the congregation as to what you can get away with very easily.
BT, before you leave, before we go on to Baron, I think this is, you mentioned this, so I want to make sure that we answer this question really quickly. I know some people have already answered this with the link of the Black Magic, but with the link in some of the different channels. So thank you for those of you that have commented on that. But remind us, what was that free editing software?
So it's DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve, and I put it inside of the chat, so each of the channels should see that as well as the link to it. Perfect.
Okay. And then I'm going to just answer one quick question. There was this question about what is B-roll. B-roll is very simply, if you have, if I'm talking to you in the camera, and let's say I'm talking about how beautiful nature is, and then we have a beautiful shot of, let's say, Half Dome, and you do a pan and you just show Half Dome. You take me out of the picture and you have something, another video that's overlaid with me that's just does a pan of Half Dome. That's what we consider B-roll. It is a video footage that is placed on top of the other one. So I may still be talking, I may be talking about it, but instead of seeing me in the camera as you do right now, you would see a beautiful picture of Half Dome panning along. That's what we mean by B-roll. Great question. Thank you. And we will answer some of these other questions in the Q&A section. I don't want to take away time. Next, we will have Baron Savory, our pastor here from the Valley Fellowship Church. He's going to be talking with you about live stream basics. So Baron, thank you for being here, and take it away.
Thank you, Eno. Thank you, BT. And welcome to everybody that is joining us right now live. If you want to just take a second and share this with others, I know there's going to be a ton of great presentations that are going to be happening right after this one right here. But you are here right now, and you are here for one reason, and that is because you really want your live stream for your church to improve. You want to learn some tips and some things to consider when you are going live for your church. And so I'm glad that you're here. Continue to share this, especially with your media and tech professionals that are going to be a part. Now, I'm going to be starting with part number 1. I'm going to be doing the basic, but I want you to also know that there's going to be an advance. And I'm really excited about Danilo Braga that's going to be joining right after I finished the basic. He's going to go into the advanced. You don't want to miss it, so hang in there with us. Now, I also want to give you a chance early on from the very start to get some questions together. I want you to be able to think about different things that I'm going to be presenting, and I'm happy to share the presentation and the slides that I have prepared with each and every one of you all that desires them, so that you can go back, you can look at them, or you can just go back after this conference is over, this virtual conference is over, and you can rewatch it again. So I want to just kind of put that out there from the very start. Now, as you all know, my name is Baron Savory. I am a local church pastor, and let me just give you a little bit of a window into what my experience was. When I transitioned at the beginning of 2020, just 1 year ago. I was introduced at my church on February the 22nd, 2020. 3 Sabbaths later, the pandemic hit, and we could no longer meet in our church building. I was a brand new pastor, learning my church family, and had to go from being in person to streaming right away. I turned to my media director, and they had a few things, to their credit, they had a few things that were going for them. They had already set up a Facebook channel, but they were posting to YouTube, my apologies, after the service. There was nothing live. And then they also had a Facebook page that really had not been used at all. And so now we are a church, we're a small church. So many of you all that are watching this right now, if you're pastoring a church with 50 people, 70, 75 people, maybe 100 people, I know exactly where you are, because that's where I am right now. And so I want to dive in and jump into this presentation that I have that talks about Streaming 101. One of the things that's really important that I want to share with each and every one of you all is this reality that we're all in. And that is why invest? Why take the time to even invest in media in the first place? Because we're going to discuss why this is even important. We're also going to talk about what you need to stream. Now, you've already gotten things off to a good start with Eno and BT. They've talked about some of the very core and important basics that you need when you are considering going live and streaming. We're also going to cover this, what platforms are available. And I saw the question that came in just a little bit ago. I'm going to be talking about the platform that we are using right now. It is a great platform. It's something that's amazing. And the smallest churches can use it all the way up to the biggest ones. And you'll hear a little bit about that a little bit later on in my presentation today. And then just a brief overview of these streaming platform capabilities. There's some things that are really great that these platforms can do that will be extremely helpful to each and every one of you. All right. So you've learned a little bit about my story. You've learned a little bit about my experience. I'm a regular church pastor working with a media guy. Now, I don't have a huge team, but I want to express this from the very start. It does take a team. No person can do this by themselves. Now, if you need to, the platforms that I will share with you today, the ideas that I'll be able to share with you, you can do them all by yourself. It is totally possible to do it and do it pretty well if you follow all of the different things that we're sharing with you today during this virtual conference. You can do this all by yourself. Some people are really intimidated by it, but I want you to know that it really is simple to be able to go live and to stream. So here are some of the things. Here's the reality for each and every one of you that are watching. No matter if you've been pastoring for 35 or 40 years, if you've been the media person in your church for the last 25 years, and you've never had to worry about or even consider it. This is the thing. We have to get comfortable with this new reality. Streaming and online church is here to stay. It's not going to go anywhere. It's going to be here. It's going to be present with us. As a matter of fact, it's one of the key things that each and every one of our churches really needs to dive into and learn how to do well, whether you're a small church congregation or a large one, because it's no longer the back door or the side door. It is becoming more and more the front door of doing church. This is not a drill. It's not going away. This is going to be a part of it. Now, one of the leading thinkers, some of you all might be aware or heard of George Barna. There's another church researcher, Kerry Newhoff, and here's what he has to say. Physical church attendance has been in decline for decades, and COVID, in all likelihood, accelerated the decline even further. The average church has seen their reopened attendance come in around 36% of previous levels. Now, I want that to sink in really quickly. For those of you all that are watching this, you're saying, man, when this pandemic is over, everybody's going to rush back to the church and we're all going to be able to open up our hymnals together and sing together. Yes, we're all looking forward to that time, including me. But here's the other reality that we have to get comfortable with. Not everybody's going to come back. As a matter of fact, some people have become more and more comfortable with this reality that watching church online is great. They get spiritually fed. If their church takes their stream seriously, they're enjoying it. It's done in a quality way. They're enjoying the blessing. Now, of course, it's difficult to build community. We all know that happens in person best. But many have friendships and other connections that are important to them that they're still nurturing during this time of the pandemic. And when church reopens, we can say this: not everybody is going to rush back into the church house. And so what that means is that if you feel that once this is over, I don't have to worry about any of this streaming business, I don't have to worry about worrying about any of the things that are coming along with this, you will be a church that unfortunately will be left behind, because streaming is here to stay and having a presence online is important. Now, I have the website there. That's the name of the article, 8 disruptive trends that are happening. You can search for it. This is just one of them. This is just one of the realities that is facing everyone. Streaming is not streaming is the way of the present and can be key to your church growth. This is why it's important. You can grow your church online. And in fact, here's the other thing. Streaming and creating an online presence gives you a platform, not just to your local community, but to the world. Can you imagine a time where your church can connect with people, not just in your local care area and context, but someone connects with your ministry because you do it well, and they're all over the world? Danilo Braga, he leads a church online that is able to do just that. Our Loma Linda University Church is able to connect with people all over the world. But let me tell you, connecting with people around the world is not just for big churches. It's for people just like my church in Rialto, California. We had one Sabbath recently, someone that was tuning in from New Zealand. That could only happen if we were streaming online. All right. So what is streaming? Let's just jump in real quick, just for those that are just kind of wondering, what in the world is this that we're talking about? Our friend Merriam-Webster defines it as this. It's the act, the process, or the instance of streaming data, or the accessing of data that is being streamed. So right now, what we're doing, we're actually streaming right now. You can do it as well. So anything that you're pushing out live or something that's pre-recorded and you're pushing out onto the internet, that is streaming, particularly if it's audio or video. Now, here are the basic tools. If you didn't listen to Eno's presentation at the very beginning, roll back to the beginning of this after my presentation is done, of course, and look at some of the basics, because I'm not going to go in depth into any of these things because they were covered so well in the previous presentations. ABC, easy as do, re, mi. So number one thing that you're going to need a camera. You're going to need a microphone as well. And of course, you're going to need a connection to the internet. That's all you need. Camera, microphone, internet. That's it. If you have those three things, everybody uses them, from the biggest churches to the smallest ones, to the person that has a YouTube channel all by themselves, to the persons and corporations that are streaming out to millions and millions of people. Got to have a camera, got to have a microphone for them to hear you, and you got to have a connection to the internet. We're going to talk a little bit more about these three areas that are really key to your stream going well, because you have to get these three things right in order to have a quality stream and the basics. So before you go live, here are some of the three things that you really need to consider. Whether it's your camera, you can go live with your phone right here. This can go live. You can use this and it can be your device to go live. There's some churches that have used their phones to go live. So this is something that you can use. This is a very basic tool. And guess what? It has everything in it. It has a camera, it has a microphone, and it connects to the internet. So this is all in one right here. But we want you to aspire to do something even better, especially because this is something that's going to be with us for a very, very long time. The other thing that we talked about is lighting. Light is going to be really important. You can't have it dark. Now, I'll do this presentation, this quick demonstration really quickly. I have a couple of lights behind me. I have a light that also is adding some color. And I'm going to have a light right here, but I'm going to turn it off for a second. Do you see how much darker things got? I'm going to turn it back on, and now everything gets lit up much better. So before you go and you hit the live stream button, you want to make sure that you have these core things all ready to go. Many are built in, and if you're considering streaming for your church, you want to look into some good microphones, whether they be lapel microphones or one that I'm using right here, which is one that can be used for singing or podcasts or even preaching if you desire. All right. And then a connection to the internet. Now, I want to pause here for just a moment, because this is one of the things that people just really don't quite understand. This really huge key about internet. Now, many of us, we become comfortable with the reality that we can use Wi-Fi and connect by Wi-Fi, and it gets us out to the world. Well, that's great if you're checking email, or maybe you're just on your phone in your house and you're walking around, you want to watch a video on YouTube. That works great. But if you're looking to stream well, bypass the Wi-Fi. Don't use Wi-Fi. As a matter of fact, invest in plugging in directly from your Ethernet to the Ethernet port, either in the side of your laptop computer or into your desktop. You want to have what is called a hard wire connection. That is so critical. So let me show you something that I did today in my very own home in the same computer that I'm using right now. This is a speed test that I did in my home. Now, this is me using Wi-Fi. You can see there the numbers there for my download speed. Not too bad, 133, and the upload speed, 22. And we can talk a little bit more about those. But I want to use this as a demonstration purpose about the difference between using Wi-Fi and plugging in hardwired. This is the same computer 1 minute later, now plugged in through Ethernet cable directly into my modem. Look at that. A huge difference. The amount of speed that is able to be pulled, download, it's so much better. It's more than doubled in speed. So for some of you all, as you're looking at and as you're considering this, you're looking at the speed of your internet. Now, I know that somebody there is probably going to say, that's great, Barone, that's great. But really, when you're streaming, you want to look at the upload speed and the pushing out of it. And you're absolutely correct. We're going to consider some of those things in terms of upload in our more advanced class that's happening right after this. But this is just a demonstration about these two possibilities that you have that are really key and important. Hardwire in. If you hardwire in, you're going to have a better experience for your end user. Now, it's important that you consider not what you're seeing, but what the people will see on the other end after you've pushed it out. If the speed is not high enough, the video is going to be choppy. It's going to jump around. It's not going to be clear. It's going to be grainy. And you might look at it on your screen. You say, man, it looks perfect to me. But the folks on the other end are not having a good experience. This is why I can't stress it enough. Invest in upgrading your internet. Invest in taking the time and the energy to figure out how long does my Ethernet cable need to be to plug directly in. It is worth the investment. It is worth the time. If you're going to invest in cameras and lighting and microphones, guess what? You need to add your internet stream as well, your internet connectivity to this as well, so that you can have a quality stream. One of the things that is important, some of you all live in some great areas. It's awesome. You have some speeds that are incredible. It's really good for you in some areas. I know that some of you might live in more rural areas, and I want to talk a little bit about how you can actually upload all of your video instead of having to worry about how fast it is, uploading it before your service begins and then setting up Premiere so that it can go live. Now, Danilo is going to maybe talk a little bit about why some of our larger churches use that method versus trying to push everything out live. Even though you might have the speed capability to do it, sometimes it's just best to upload it already and then set it as a premiere, because at that point, everything will go out just as you intended for it to go out. All right, so let's talk now a little bit about platforms. Here are a couple of things to consider. Facebook and YouTube are the kings of the online streaming world. Now, Facebook, one of the things that's great about it is that it has over 1 billion people that are on it. Wow, that's a huge audience. One drawback, though, to Facebook, when you're considering, if that's the only place that you're choosing in your streaming to go, and it's easy to go live on Facebook, it doesn't take much work, and you can do it almost instantaneously, is that people have to have an account. That's something that I learned with my church. Not everybody, especially older members, have an account with Facebook, but it still is a place that you absolutely have to consider and you should stream to, so that not only those that are part of your church body can be a part of it and connect to it, but others as well that might not know about your church, they can come across it. But then there's YouTube. YouTube is great because it is the largest, is the most popular video content site on the internet. I mean, there are billions and billions of videos that are on YouTube, and you can add yours there, including having your own YouTube channel. There's no account that's needed. All people need to be able to do is to know how to search for your church's name. And if it's easily findable, they'll go to your church's channel and be able to view your church service. Now, if you want to go live to YouTube, here's one of the key things to continue to remember, is that it takes at least 24 hours for your channel to be verified. So if you decide on Friday evening, you know what, let's go live to YouTube, guess what? It ain't going to happen on Sabbath morning. It just isn't going to happen because you need more time to be able to do it. So these are the two really large ones that can host the stream that you are pushing out. All right. Now, here's some additional platforms to consider in addition to Facebook and YouTube. A way to get your content out, some of the basic things to know, is a free software called OBS. OBS is one where you can take the videos that you have created, the videos that you have recorded, and you can send it out to one of them. But the limitation is that it's only one. It's only one of them. So you have to choose between the two. And I quickly realized that maybe there's some updates that have happened with OBS, but early on, what I experienced was that I was only able to go to one. And so let's talk about a few sites. StreamYard is one of them. As a matter of fact, the question that was asked earlier, how are we doing this? We're using the platform StreamYard, and it's outstanding. It's a place where you can not only have live programming. I'm live here in Highland, California. Others are live all across California being a part of this broadcast. It is awesome. We're using StreamYard as guests to be able to push this out to each and every one of you all. But the thing that's great about StreamYard is that you don't have you have more than one place that you can send your stream to. So this stream is going out on StreamYard using its platform, not only to SECC's Facebook page, but it's also going to the YouTube page. It's going to Northern California conferences pages. It's going to Central California conferences pages. It can all go out at one time to all of those multiple places. It's fantastic. I use StreamYard to do a prayer meeting with 2 other local churches. But guess what? Everybody who tunes in from the other churches, they go to their church's YouTube or Facebook page. The members of my church, they go to my YouTube and my Facebook page for the Valley Fellowship SDA Church. And they all see the same thing at the same time, but on those specific platforms. If you've never heard of StreamYard, you need to check it out. It is awesome. It's a very powerful tool, one that you can use to be able to push out your stream to both your Facebook and YouTube pages at one time. And if you want to expand it to more, you can, up to 8 different destinations online with StreamYard. All right. Now, I want to introduce some of you all that are perhaps ambitious for even more. There's a platform called Restream. Now, Restream and StreamYard are very similar. They're very similar in what they can do, but Restream takes it a step further. It goes to the max. As a matter of fact, it's one that you would consider perhaps everything is bigger in Texas. Everything is just a little bit bigger on Restream. Restream, you can stream to over 20 destinations at the same time. I had an opportunity to do this all along the West Coast. We did what was called the West Coast Worship Collaborative, where we had churches from Washington State, Oregon, all throughout Northern, Central, and Southern California together for one church services. There were 23 separate destinations that we were sending that stream to. And guess what? It was just, I pushed the stream out from this location right here at my home after loading it into Restream, was able to push it out to 23 different destinations at the same time. It was outstanding. It was really, really great to be able to use. So Restream is a way that if you're doing something large and you're wanting to gather a bunch of churches together, it maxes out, I think, somewhere around 23 different destinations that you can use. It's a great tool that you can use and works well. And then for all of my Mac users out there, thank you for that question. Yes, for StreamYard and for Restream, there is a cost. Now, I had the slides already prepared. I didn't add them into the presentation, but you can expect to spend somewhere between $20 and $50 per month for either StreamYard or Restream. Maybe somebody can look that up and drop it in the comments for me. Maybe one of those that are working backstage can pull up those pricing models for us to let you know. I know that StreamYard is going to be $49 per month for the professional plan, somewhere between $41 and $49 a month. And Restream is just about the same. Now, if you want to go to the Texas size, the big one, well, guess what? To stream out to almost 25 destinations, 25 destinations, that's going to be $300 a month. So some of the pricing for that. Now, I want to talk about this last resource here because my time is running out. Ecamm. These are all platforms. Once you've collected all of this, all of the videos together, you've used Adobe Premiere Pro or DaVinci Resolve or iMovie or some other platform to edit your video just a little bit, and now you put it together in a stream and you have your pastor and your music together. These are the platforms that you can use to push out to Facebook, to YouTube, to other places. Ecamm is another one. This is only Mac based. This is only for Macintosh computers, and I love it. I had a chance to use Ecamm for a conference called the Pastors Evangelism Leadership Conference, where we streamed and beamed out a conference all around the world, people logging in from all across the nation and the world. And we use this as our base platform to be able to stream all of the things that we had together. It was great. It was an awesome, awesome experience. Ecamm, for all of my Mac people out there, is something that you can consider. Now, all three of those on the bottom are going to be platforms that you are going to need to pay for. They don't come for free, but you get a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more strength, a little bit something better from them, and some options so that you can use them to push out the stream of your church. All right. The last thing here is that once you've gotten all those things together, you've chosen your platform, whether that's Streamyard or Restream or Ecamm even, you can now go live. But I want to pause here for just a moment before I show my last thing and a little bit of contact information about uploading something pre-recorded. Pre-recorded is something that's really, really important for you to be able to consider. For some of those sites, particularly Facebook and YouTube, if you have a video or you've prepared an entire service, you can go into those platforms, you can upload them, and you can schedule them to premiere at a specific time. It takes a little bit of finagling with, it's not terribly difficult, and the upload, depending on the size of the file, might take a little bit of time to upload depending on your internet speed. We talked about that a little bit earlier. But when you do that, your church service will be live streamed as if it was happening at that very moment when you use the premiere function. It's different from just uploading a video and posting it. When you use the premiere function, you can set it to go live at 11 a.m. and at 11 o'clock, it will pop up for all of those that usually view your service as if it is happening at that very, very, very moment. At that point, you're doing live streaming and you're doing it far better than you ever thought that you could. I hope that this was helpful to you. If you would like to send me a note or send me a message, feel free to do just that. This is my contact information where you can email me. And then I'm also including there at the very bottom, the place where you can also check out Valley Fellowship's YouTube page. We're learning each and every day. We're trying to get a little bit better with how it is that we present the gospel online. We're a small church, but I want you to know that small churches can do big things. You can make it happen. So there you go. I'm so grateful to be able to share with all of you all. The prices for a lot of these different programs have been listed there in the stream and posted online. I'm going to stop my screen share at this time. And I don't know, do I have any time to answer any additional questions, or are we going to just roll straight into my brother and my friend, Danilo? As a matter of fact, let me do just that.
I was just going to say, why don't we, we'll pause on some of those questions, Baron. Thank you for a great presentation. And thank you for already answering some of those questions that we threw at you during your presentation, and great engagement of those of you that are online. We greatly, greatly appreciate that. Baron, thank you so much for giving us an idea over the basic idea of live streaming. Next, we're going to go to Danilo Braga, who is going to talk to us a little bit about the advanced stages of live stream. So thank you, Danilo. The time is yours.
Thank you. So welcome, everyone. Once again, my name is Danilo Braga. I am the video engineer at Loma Linda University Church. And if you guys have seen our streams, we do a lot of things over here, including using cinematic cameras. And we go all the way up to the high-end equipment. But I'm going to try and talk a little bit about the cheaper, more affordable gear. So BT, can I get my presentation, please? Thank you. So let's get started here. I'm going to start all the way from the signal path. which would be at your video camera. So when you start with your video camera, if you're doing pre-recorded, you would go into a video timeline system, maybe Premiere, maybe Final Cut, or you're going straight live from, maybe you're doing something like Streamyard or Restream. In this case, in my little signal path demonstration here, my camera is your starting video. The computer is supposed to be your video encoder, and your CDN would be something like YouTube, maybe Vimeo, or whatever else you could be using. Over here, we use YouTube and Facebook. I'll explain a little bit more why we specifically chose those two things. So my preferred camera of choice is the Blackmagic Pocket 6K. This is I put the price there for you guys who are curious. And then also at Azure Hills Church, a church that I also work with, we shot a sermon one time on this camera specifically. And I wanted to show you guys what it looks like. And I thought the colors looked amazing on it. And I couldn't resist but to show you guys this. What this camera is really capable of doing is doing cinematic feels. So when you shoot this and then you put it into your timeline later, it actually looks really, really crisp. And it's got an HDMI out also. So you can plug it into something maybe like a Blackmagic web presenter, something like this. Or if you have maybe an ATEM Mini Pro, something that BT is actually using right now, you can plug in the camera straight into it and do a little bit of switching to it. And you can also use it on your computer as a webcam. So if you've noticed Pastor Barone and actually BT are using actual cameras instead of webcams for their live stream today, and you probably notice it looks really, really crisp and really good. I'm just using a regular webcam, so it looks meh in my opinion, but this is just a live stream that we're doing for today. This camera starts at $2,000. In my opinion, it is a great investment. You can continue using it even after we're done with COVID. You can use it for filming projects. We actually use this camera to film a lot of music videos. At the beginning of COVID, I was using this camera a lot to film Kimo Smith, our organist here. I would bring a couple of these to his house, set it up, hit record on all of them, and leave. And he would record all of them. And then once he's done, he'd call me back in the room. I'd shut him off, bring back the SSD cards with me, and take them home and just edit it from there. These cameras, because they're pro level gear, you do have to buy things separately, and they do run a little more expensive. The SSDs on these cameras that I recommend getting is the Wise SSD. They're about $300 and 1 terabyte, and which is amazing because you can use them with your computer as well. You can use it for other things that aren't just the camera. And then if you're not recording somewhere where you're using where there's power available, you should get an extended battery. Or if you think this is a little bit pricier, you can get one of those battery backpacks for your laptop that you just plug it into and plug the camera into it. It should be a little bit cheaper than that. But this camera is amazing. I definitely recommend you check it out. Another option also is the Sony a7S, another camera that we use here. It's really great with low light and also more cinematic feel. Both of these cameras do photos. So if you want to do stills, including using your photo directory, you can do that also. The Sony a7S is a little better for photos, but this also does it. So if you want to get it for, two things, you can. This camera will do both. Another thing I want to talk about is the encoders. The encoders are very important to what you do. I put 3 of them here. The first is OBS that Pastor Barone talked about earlier. It's free. It's, in my opinion, amazing if you're starting out. You can preload videos on it and then go live if you're pre-recorded. And you can also go live from a camera if you want. Just import the camera into OBS and go live from there. I've also included Wirecast because that's what we use here at Loma Linda University Church. And it is not a free option, but it is almost industry standard for a lot of smaller churches in the industry, not just the SDA church, but also non-denominational churches as well. And lastly, I included FFmpeg. It is a free option, but it is more complicated. If you have the time to learn this, I really, really do recommend it. We use it here in the past. We don't use it every Sabbath, but what's really cool about FFmpeg is you can automate things because FFmpeg is entirely command line based. So you can write things in a script, save it on your desktop, and then time it so that whenever you want something to go live, it'll pick up the video file from a specific source and then go live to wherever you want it to. FFmpeg is really commonly used by big companies, corporations. I know that Disney Corporation uses them. I know that Fox uses it. I have some colleagues that work with both of those companies, and they tell me that they do use them. And actually, our encoders that we use here at Loma Linda University Church do use FFmpeg as well. Although I'm not interacting with the command line itself, they internally, that's what they run on. One thing that we used to do here at Loma Linda University Church is when we went live with our construction cameras, I was asked to somehow figure out a way to get 3 cameras, point it at our construction site, and live stream it for anyone who wants to watch it around the world 24/7. And I didn't really know how to do that. So what I did is I bought 3 IP cameras that have a built-in encoder to them, and then it would send it to this FFmpeg on a Mac Mini that I had running. And then FFmpeg would take that signal, convert it into RTMP, and then forward it to YouTube. So if you guys have actually seen the construction live stream for Loma University Church, that's how it was done. It was with FFmpeg. Another thing I've done also is with Azure Hills a while back at the beginning of coronavirus. We have set it up on a computer, and then we use Windows Task Scheduler to automatically take a file called current.mp4 every Saturday morning at 10:30 a.m. and automatically go live with it. So all I had to do was encode it so that YouTube was ready to use it and drop it on the desktop of my computer, and then every Saturday morning it would automatically go live for me. I didn't have to get out of bed. I didn't have to do anything. It would automatically go live. I didn't even have to worry about it. However, I do recommend that if you try doing something like that, that you can at least engage with your audience in the comments. One thing that I personally think is really important for a church is the community feel of it. So especially now that we're all virtual, I really recommend that you try and hop in those comments if you do something like that. Another thing I want to talk about is the different CDNs. And let me take a pause really quick. All these CDNs use something called H.264 codec. There's many different ones out there. One really popular one for video editing is ProRes 422. That camera that I showed earlier, the Blackmagic Pocket, it actually works by filming ProRes 422, which you can edit on a timeline really well, really crisp, and then you export into H.264. That's a really important thing to know. H.264 is widely used by everyone. All of these platforms use it. And then also Akamai, which is another platform that Hope Channel actually uses, is also ingests in H.264. So these platforms, YouTube is free. A lot of you are probably already using it. Vimeo is not free. And ChurchStream.tv, if you're not using that, I suggest you check it out also. All of them have their different advantages. I personally really like YouTube because it is the largest CDN in the world, and I haven't had any issues with it. A lot of people will say they're hesitant to switch to it because of the copyright issues. I haven't done that. I haven't worried about that because since we went live to YouTube in November of 2016, we have never had a video or live stream taken down because of a copyright issue. We have received copyright strikes on videos, but not live streams, where someone will get a banner ad, but not an actual ad, and it won't interrupt the stream. With Vimeo, what's really great about it is you can embed things on the website, just like YouTube and ChurchStream.tv. And what's really awesome about that is your viewers, they don't have to learn how to search for your stream on these different platforms. So ideally, you want to set it up so that everyone can just go into your website and then watch your stream there. Don't make them look for it. And then that's where ChurchStreaming.tv comes in really handy. There's a fellow by the name of Travis that I met at Rubidoux Church. He actually came to Azure Hills one time, and he talked to me and Pastor BT about ChurchStreaming.tv. Although we don't use them, I personally really like them because if you have the more expensive option, they'll even create a Roku channel for you. So your viewers, if they have a Roku channel at home already connected to their TV, they can just go to your app and then watch it there as well. Something I wanted to mention is also the bitrate. All of these recommend a specific bitrate. Now, if you're not familiar with bitrate, we're going to talk about it in a little bit. I do recommend, if you're using your different encoders, to use something called NVIDIA NVENC. If you don't have an NVIDIA graphics card, I recommend you get one, pop it in your computer, and then try and run it alongside your encoder software. So if you're using any of these, they can do, instead of using your CPU, it's going to use your GPU. Video encoding is something that's really heavy on your cores. Your computer might have 6 cores, 8 cores. Your graphics card might have 2,000 cores, which is really handy if you're doing all those different frames at different frame rates. And then for video bitrate, one thing I wanted to show you guys is my internet speed. This is what I got at home when I did an internet speed test earlier. 11 megabits is not great for uploading. Always make sure you're plugged in, by the way. So 11 megabits is not great for uploading, and this is something that we have had an issue with before in the past when I started live streaming, is when we tried live streaming, we had poor internet connection and we couldn't stream to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. So we had issues like this. We had to lower the bitrate. If you're not familiar with bitrate, this is what it might look like. So at 1/5 of a bit of a megabit, this is an example of what the image might look like. So here I have the hand, and you can actually see the hand duplicated here. You can see some of the hands is in both frames, and it's mixing them in both, and you can see all the pixelation there, and it's actually hard to tell if this is a smooth edge over here. Whoop. And it's pixelated everywhere, really. You can't really tell what the counter is made of. There's an anomaly back here. Is it part of the hand? I'm not really sure. And then once you go to 1 megabit, you can see what it actually is in the back of here. It might be like a cup or something, or maybe a candle. And you don't see the hand here anymore. You see a little motion blur still, and maybe a little bit of pixelation over here on the credit card with the motion blur, because it's really hard to encode. And then at 4 megabits, it actually looks pretty good. And then at 8 megabits, it looks amazing, almost uncompressed. That's definitely something to check out if you have a low internet speed connection. And this one, something that's really cool is actually with YouTube, it'll do multi-bit rate. And this is what they recommend. There is no standard for bit rates. YouTube has this on their website for if you want to look at their more information pages. If you upload a video and it's 1080p, they recommend you upload it at 8 megabits per second. Versus if you upload it at 48, 50, or 60, they recommend it at 12 megabits per second. Or if you're going live at 1080, they recommend it anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 megabits per second. So how does that work? If I'm going live to YouTube at 4,000 megabits per second, and I also want to go live to Facebook, and I'm doing multi-bit rate for any other platform, it's really going to slow down my internet, and I won't have the speed for it. And one issue I had actually with another provider that I was using that they didn't do multi-bit rate was if I had a viewer somewhere that might be on the road, maybe they're in the middle of Kansas, they have poor service, and they want to watch this church service. Back then, I was only streaming in 1080p. So if he wanted to watch it, his internet connection had to be powerful enough to receive the 4,000 megabits that I was streaming at, or 4 megabits. He couldn't do that because his stream just kept stopping and buffering every maybe 10, 15 seconds. It was basically unwatchable. Something that's really cool about YouTube is it'll actually break it down for you. If you're watching our stream right now and you go over to hover over to the bottom over there, you can actually see the different qualities that you can watch it at. This is something that YouTube does that a lot of other providers don't. Vimeo, for example, doesn't do that. And it really allows anybody, even regardless of the internet connection, to watch your service. Let's move on here. Going on to the next part is the CDN with, sorry, excuse me here, I missed something. So if you're actually going to go and you're going to do pre-recorded, this is something Pastor Barone mentioned earlier. With YouTube, you can actually do what's called a premiere. With YouTube Premiere, you can upload your video, even if you have a slow internet connection, and then you can choose go live at this time. Over here at Loma Linda University Church, we only have one encoder, so we can only go live to one place that we have set up. So we have two services. We have Anthem Live, and we also have a church service. So how do we go live to both? Well, so what we chose to do is one encoder will go live to YouTube from our playback server, our playback engine, and the other encoder will go live from YouTube Premiere. So we'll actually upload the YouTube video the night before into our YouTube page, and then we'll set, I want you to go live tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. And then when it goes live, what's really awesome is people can't fast forward into the video, so everyone watches it at the same time, and everyone can comment together. And it really brings in the community feel that people should be experiencing at church. Other options to do this also is, this is with FFmpeg, if you're streaming from a file. And then if you don't have the internet connection for it, you can also go live to multiple places from something like Restream. What Restream can do is you can select the file up there, and depending how long your service is, you can say go live at 10:30 a.m. to these platforms from this file. So you can upload the file the night before and choose go live whenever you want, and then you don't have to worry about it. The next morning, just when you wake up, the stream's already going, and then whatever other pastor might be running the stream that day, they'll be commenting and engaging with the community. And then lastly, I want to talk about this is the path that you skip the encoder, by the way, if you're going to do pre-recorded. Lastly, I want to talk about simulated live. This is the option that I was talking about, the restream, where you upload a video and it feels live, but it's actually not live. Church streaming TV will actually, you can upload your video and it'll say that it's live, so it won't say premiere like YouTube will do. Here's my contact information if you guys have any questions. My email or phone number, text me anything you need. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And that is all for my presentation.
Thank you, Danilo, for sharing with us a little bit some of the more technical elements. Here's a question for you. Well, it was a question for somebody else, but maybe you want to weigh in really quickly on this question.
Yeah, great question. So for a small church, I would definitely recommend starting out with OBS since it is free. For now, I wouldn't recommend spending the money unless you know you're going to stick with it. I really recommend you do, but start out with OBS, learn how it works, learn how your camera works, learn what's best, and then maybe go on to Wirecast. What's cool about Wirecast is you can actually import multiple angles into it, and OBS actually does this too, and you can do live switching in it without having to buy a switcher. OBS will do all of that. It's not as stable, in my opinion, as Wirecast, but they both work.
Perfect. Thank you. Keep those questions coming. We look forward to engaging with you in just a minute. But before we do, this is going to be our final presentation before we go into the general Q&A piece. And we're going to, all of this, what you have listened to right now has been a little bit more on the technical side, how to produce, how to shoot, how to edit, what software is to use, what other pieces of technology are beneficial to use. But one of the things that we wanted to talk about is also how do you engage the people? Like we've talked about technology, but how do you engage people that are on the other side of the camera? So I'm here, you're over there. How do we deal with engagement? And for that question, I'm going to turn it over to Lori. She's going to talk to us a little bit about how you engage the audience on the other side of the screen. Lori, thank you for being willing to present.
My pleasure. I'm glad to be here. I've been enjoying watching all of the comments and seeing this engagement as we talk about in action. One of the things that I think as I'm listening to all of these different presentations is that the work that you guys are doing as pastors is extremely difficult. It's new. And so we're all learning these things together. So I appreciate seeing pastors sharing information with each other about best practices. And I encourage you to continue doing that, reaching out, because there's maybe somebody out there that might know a little bit more. And I'm sitting in these presentations. I'm not the techie person. I am the social person, I guess you could say, which goes along with my job title and what I was hired to do at the Northern California Conference, which is communication and development. Development has a variety of different definitions in different industries, depending on in which industry you're in. It could be considered philanthropy. It could be considered fundraising. It could be considered stewardship. However, no matter which word you choose to use, it all has to do with raising funds. And that might be a little uncomfortable for some, but let me develop that idea a little bit when we're talking about engagement. What is the purpose of all of these wonderful things that we're talking about? As you've seen from all of the different videos and presenters, all of us are presenting in a different way. And you have seen, and I'm doing it on my computer in a living room. I have no special anything going on. I don't even have any special lights. I was trying to set up some lighting so at least you could see my face in some quality, but I don't have anything special. You can see the difference. And I think it's very important. Why should we have better visual presentations? Why should we spend time on this? And what difference does it make that our people are interacting with us and how they're interacting with us? And then what does that all translate to at the very end? So I'm going to be wrapping up, and then we're going to go in question and answer, and then the giveaway. So I want to point something out for those of you who are still listening. There are going to be 3 questions, and there have been questions being asked throughout each of the presentations. And at the end of this, there's going to be a giveaway. And so I recommend that you start practicing for that giveaway, because we're going to be asking questions, and I'm hoping that whoever answers first will get those giveaways. And there's some pretty cool gifts out there. So there will be 3 questions in my presentation, which will then be repeated again. So hopefully you will get the correct answer in the right way. So put your attention, put your ears on, listen, even if you're not watching. So again, my name is Lori Trujillo. And just in case, I'm new on the block here in Northern California Conference, but my last name is not. And I know a lot of people like to ask, oh, what's that Trujillo name? So let me just put you all at ease. My dad is Arnold Trujillo. My mom is Dolores Trujillo. My brother is Tim Trujillo. My uncle is Fred Kinsey. My cousin is Stephanie Kinsey. So we've been... It is part of the family. And I took a little bit of a different route than my family has. For the last 18 years, I've been working in development in an international field, specifically focused on fundraising and development. And part of successfully fundraising is engaging. And this is where we begin. How do we engage? What does that actually mean? Engagement. It can mean a variety of different things, but in the terminology of, again, going back, what is the importance of this visual presentation? And let me explain it from a development world. The job of a development person is 80% of our time. The most successful of us who raise funds, 80% of our time is engaging with people, building relationships, strengthening those relationships, connecting, looking for ways to connect, looking for ways to build that joy of and falling in love with the mission, so that there's this natural desire to give. There's this natural desire because you love. And so when we talk about engagement in a virtual world, what are the senses that you're able to access right now watching this video? How do I know you're engaging? What senses are you using? Actually, it's limited to 2. Visual and auditory. Those are the 2 senses that are being engaged, that are being accessed right now. And I challenge you, the visual is going to be one of the most important. The visual aspect of engagement. If you don't believe me, and if you want to do it even now, because I can't see you, and you can try walking in a straight line looking to the left or to the right. Your left or your right, because I'm probably opposite. Try walking in a straight line. It's going to be next to impossible, because your entire body will move in the direction of your eyes. So when we talk about improving live streaming and OBS and all of these fun words and pictures and gadgets and getting better, getting the lower thirds and getting, clear and focus, all of that has meaning, because it allows the person on the other side, not you, on the other side, to feel more relaxed and enjoy the visual experience of the live stream. Once you've been able to relax that visual experience and they're not having to worry about, I can't see, oh, I can't hear, oh, the break, then they can listen and then they can participate. So the question was, what are the 5 senses that you use? What are the senses that you use? Visual and auditory. Now, how do you determine if your listeners, your audience is engaged? How do you determine if your viewers are engaged? And what does that data reveal about certain important social habits that are developing? One of the presenters has already spoken about it. Live streaming is here to stay. But why is live streaming here to stay? The data that you are tracking when you are producing live stream or recorded video will tell you. Now, this is not going to be universally true. And that's why it's very important as you're live streaming. One of the things, the front part and producing and learning and doing all of that. But take a look at your numbers. Facebook and YouTube both have a set of numbers. And they will show you how many viewers you have. Let's talk specifically about Facebook. In Facebook, even now, if you were to go, if you're watching, you can see how many viewers are watching at this moment in time, this particular online conference. Unfortunately, and you may see 1,000. And wow, that's amazing. I've heard pastors say, I have more viewers on on an average Sabbath than I have ever do in person. Now you have to be careful though. You got to understand those views, and some of you will know, and some of you will not. John Sissel, actually, who's one of the people chatting, he's the one that kind of really brought this out to me, and that a viewer on Facebook can be, and I did this a couple of times, the same person having to log in and re-log in and log in and re-log in because they got bumped off. It's too slow. I want to try. I got distracted. So in 1 hour presentation, could be 10 views. So maybe there's 1,000 views, but maybe there's only one person viewing. Not that that would be the case. However, those views you have to look at those views, but you've got to focus on another number, which is the unique view. That is the number of people that will come in at a time, and they are unique. So that's for the individual. But there's also another catch. And this is going to be, and also I'll have to say the same happens on YouTube. So you've got to look at that unique view. That tells you how many people are actually watching. Now, I do recommend that when you are looking at the views, pay attention to, and even the unique views, pay attention to specifically when people can go on and off. So when you, in the presentation, how many people are viewed, and then come back the next day and look at your views again. And then come back for the next consecutive 4 days and check that number of unique views, or even check the number of views, and see if the number goes up. Now, we talked about social trends. What we're starting to see, and I've seen it now in a variety of videos that we've produced at Northern California. I've talked to a variety of pastors from different areas around the country, and it's kind of the same concept. And I'm not sure if, and the experts here in the conference may actually be able to point out some actual studies that have been done. However, it is becoming very, very clear that the majority of your views happen, 60, 70, 80% of your views happen after your event. Think about that. I've got a couple of texts from people today that saying, oh, I'd love to attend, but I'll watch it later. Is it going to be recorded? And yes, absolutely. But what difference does it make to you? What does that data trend tell you about social habits that are starting to develop? There's two things I see when we're talking about how to engage effectively. Before the pandemic, pastors would tell me, oh, I wish I could do a sermon that would impact the lives of people throughout the entire week as they're away from church. I want a message that they can carry with them. Well, you know what's happening? The Holy Spirit heard you. And people are watching your message in the midst of their life 1, 2, 3, 4 days later, maybe 5 days later. So your message is having that impact. It's reaching them when they're really ready to listen. And hopefully the Holy Spirit is using it at the right time for them. What's really neat is you have that ability to reach people in their lives at that moment in time. And what is even further unique is that you have the ability to create your sermons in a way that is relevant to a person in their life at a moment in time. So that's an amazing trend that's happening. So why? Yes, going back to in person, absolutely fundamental. There are some people here that really are looking forward going back to in person. But I've talked to a number of members too, and they enjoy watching church service while they're in their home, eating breakfast, and enjoying and relaxing in their pajamas. And they enjoy that. That's what they enjoy. And is that social trend, is that social habit going to change? And should it change? So consider that. The other thing too, in the way in which we're engaging people in a new and remarkable way, is that you're able to access a broader range of people. You're able to see what people are doing and how they're responding. And that is done, of course, by the chats. We see people and what they're writing. I'm kind of watching as things are, as comments are coming in. And it's fun to see all of you interacting and talking. That is another way in which you really, as you're doing your sermons now, maybe it's asking questions. And here in a moment, I'm going to be doing this for you guys. Asking questions, solicit a response from your members. Solicit a response so they feel like they're part of the presentation. It's very hard to do a presentation because right now, at this moment in time, I'm looking at myself on a screen and I'm talking to an empty space. I'm a person that loves to engage and I get energy off of the people that I'm talking to. It's very hard to do this type of presentation. So these chats that go on help inspire me. They say, okay, you've got the good point. You're moving on. So keep these chats going. I love seeing these comments. Okay, so the viewers watching later, they're watching in the time that they need to know, and the Holy Spirit is able to use that to the Holy Spirit's advantage, to get your message across, to touch people's lives when they need to hear it. However, okay, so then the other thing to watch in your data trends, of course, are these unique views. And just see how many people are watching. And then most importantly, I think for me, is in YouTube, you can tell when how long are they watching your online event. That is important because we're used to doing an hour-long service with a certain formula. And there is some beauty to that. And there is some tranquility to that because there are some expectations to that. However, if you're seeing in your online streaming that people tune out after 30 minutes, why would you keep talking? So watch these trends, study them, understand them, and most importantly, don't leave them online. Do a survey afterwards. Ask your members questions. Hey, what did you think? What are ways to improve? What are things that we can do better? One of the pastors brought up an idea of, he has an engagement team that answers comments and chats back and forth. That's a way in which somebody can participate, and you can be anywhere to do that. So that's really a great way to think a little bit more creatively, to really try to engage people. The final engagement point is probably one of the most uncomfortable that I've heard. It's not something I'm uncomfortable with, but I see things a little bit differently. But as one of the things, before I started at Northern California Conference, I did a whole series on fundraising in the church. And I was able to meet a lot of most of our pastors and listen to them and hear questions and get some feedback. So I'm going to ask you guys, and I hope that you can answer this. Do you like doing offering calls? And how much time do you spend on it? Do you like doing offering calls? And how much time do you spend on it? Most people, from what I've seen, having grown up in the church, offering calls are kind of like a second thought. Offering calls are, okay, today we're going to do some offering, and then this is what it's going to go for, and thank you very much for your gift. Let's play some music. Whew, okay, I'm done. Oh, there you go. 2 minutes mass on offering call. Focus on God's blessing, invite a response. Okay, I'm going to propose something to you. I'm going to say that the offering call might be one of the most important aspects of your service. Now, don't get offended. Sermons are important, prayers are important, songs are important, special music is important. But why is the offering call, do I feel, in the term of engagement, okay, we're talking about engagement, why is that, do I think, as important? Now, let me share something with you. Before we answer that question, before we answer that question, you got to turn yourself off. Because everybody's uncomfortable asking about for money. We feel uncomfortable. Okay, let's embrace that fact. Totally fine. But I'm going to challenge you. It's not about you. The offering call has nothing to do about you. It has to do with the giver. It has to do with the experience that the person is feeling exactly because it invites participation. That is exactly right. It invites participation. It is the only time in the entire service, besides the chat that we have going on, where I am taking a passive listener, and I'm letting them log onto their phone and give a gift if you use one of the apps, or filling out a tithe envelope, or whatever the giving that you have, or, oh yeah, I guess I got to write a check and sending it in. It is the only time they take a passive person, turn it into action. For what purpose? To benefit ministry. And more importantly, why? And here's the question, and those pastors that attended my seminar should be able to answer that. Why do people give? Why do people give? Okay, as you're thinking about the answer to that question, and that's going to be a key question coming up here in the giveaways. So why do people give? Why do people give? And as you're thinking, why do you, making it about you, okay, emotion is one, yes. Why do you financially help your family, friends, and loved ones? Go to the base, okay? Go to the core. Why do you financially help? Now, I'm going to tell you a story while you're thinking about that. And I'm going to introduce to you my little loving daughter, Katie. She's going to be up here on a slide, hopefully that shows up. Here's my little girl, Katie, 4 years old. The other day, she came in to the house. She said, Mommy, I need a bag. Can I have a bag? And I said, sure, honey. I gave her a bag. And she took the bag and she put some stuff in it and she spent some time in it and then she hid it behind a pillow on the couch. And she says, Mommy, that's your birthday present. Well, of course, my birthday lovingly has actually just passed. So this happened a couple of days ago. So I said, honey, I have to wait like a year before I get that present. That's okay, Mommy. That's okay. I'll give it to you later. Okay, honey. Well, come a few days later, she couldn't contain her joy. She couldn't contain herself. She wanted to give me this gift. So she runs over to the couch. She takes the bag out. She gives it to me. And I open the bag. And inside the bag are her favorite crayons given to her by her aunt and uncle and 2 pieces of torn paper. And I had, of course, been looking for those crayons for a while. And so now I know where they were at. However, her eyes were lit up and she's waiting for this expectation. And of course I give it to her. Oh, this is so beautiful, honey. Thank you. And it was. But I asked her, well, what's this for? She's like, well, Mommy, it's a gift for us to color together and we can make pretty pictures for each other. My little daughter wanted to give me a gift that knew mattered for me, of spending time with her. But she wanted to give me the gift. Why was she giving me that gift? What was her base emotion? Love. Think about it. Love. Why do people tithe? Why do people tithe? They love your mission. Who's your mission? Jesus. People tithe because they love Jesus. That's why they tithe. Your job as a pastor is to lead them into that relationship. Let the Holy Spirit do the work. But people tithe because they love Jesus. People give their offerings because they love your ministry and the ministries that they're supporting. And they trust that you're going to use the money in a way that you say that you're going to use the money. They love that. And when they give to your special project in your church budget, it's because they love the church. So, since that's the case, love is the root reason for why people give, why people want to engage with you. And your mission, of course, is preaching the gospel, sharing God's love in a moment that you ask them to share their tithes and their offerings, their resources. You're giving them the opportunity to participate and share their love. And I'll even go further than that. We started 2 fundraising campaigns at the Northern California Conference, one for membership assistance and one for our disaster relief with all of the fires that we've had. And I've had the privilege to interact with all of my 60 donors. I call them my compassionate givers. And I always ask them, why are you giving to this? Because it's above and beyond their tithe. It's above and beyond church budget. It's above and beyond what they give. Why are you giving? And from the smallest gift to the largest gift, the answer is, I feel blessed. I love to know I'm helping others and impacting them. I feel blessed. I feel a joy and a happiness to know that I'm helping others. So when you go up and do that offering call, it's not about you and how uncomfortable you are. It's about giving your people the opportunity to feel blessed, to feel that joy, to feel engaged, 100% engaged in your program. Online, it's more difficult. And it's a challenge to get up and say, you know, this programming that we're doing costs money, but we are fulfilling our mission. And we ask for your support. Please lovingly and prayerfully consider supporting us. And please remember your tithes and offerings. And as long as you have been sincere and you have a sincere relationship with them, it's that extra reminder. It's that extra reminder that somebody might need, because I'm so much enjoying your show and I'm enjoying your sermon and I'm enjoying the music and the special music and I want to give. Oh, yeah, okay, here. You're doing them a favor. Don't take that experience away from them. If I had told my daughter, oh, well, thank you for the gift, honey. Yeah, it's very nice. If I didn't give the whole reaction, if I didn't give her the opportunity to give me, I would have taken away some of that joy. And people need that type of engagement as well. So you, as ministers, spreading the gospel of the good news of Jesus Christ, with this live streaming opportunity, you can reach more people. You can do it in a more effective way. You can activate the visual cortex so that they can become more auditory. You have the ability to reach people in their lives when you wouldn't have before, when it's just Sabbath. You're allowing the Holy Spirit to work in that space, in that time. You're engaging with them in a successful way. These are the things that the data trends and doing all of these things, what's the whole purpose? To engage effectively, to grow that relationship with Christ. And these are tools in which to do that. So I invite you, as you're preparing, give people the opportunity to give. Give the opportunity to give. And I'm seeing some that the feed has stopped. People want to hear announcements. It's the biggest challenge right now. So there's a lot of comments going on. in this COVID environment, live streaming. How do you connect with people? It is a challenge, but trust me that the Holy Spirit will guide you. The Holy Spirit will lead in these new ideas. New things will come from new circumstances. So I invite you to consider these things. There's a verse, of course, 1 Corinthians 13, some of the chapter, and I want to leave you with this last thought. And now these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these, of course, is love. Engage with your donors with love. Engage with your members with love. Give them a visual, pleasing opportunity to enjoy what it is in the message that you guys are providing. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Lori, for rounding out our somewhat techie beginning with some engagement and user engagement. We're going to bring in the other presenters so that we can. There's been some interesting questions, some conversation that I see that has been going on that I think will be helpful to be able to actually talk as well. And we're going to add into this Sergio into this conversation as well. So in case there's any specific questions that any of our viewers from Central California Conference want to talk about as well. But, there's one question that I saw right here, and maybe let me throw this up here on the screen. I think it was this comment. I think I'm going to maybe pick on, sorry, was it this one? Maybe it was this one. So maybe let me ask a little bit more. How can we reach, and maybe there's a question both for Barone, because I know you do this in the church, and also a little bit for Lori. How do we, in the COVID environment, connect beyond just the live stream? So we talked a little bit about the technical piece, but where does the human element, the community element, fit into this piece? So I'll toss it to the one of the two of you and let you get started with that.
Well, I'll jump in here real quick. This is a really good question. Thank you for asking it. This has been difficult for a local church pastor like myself to really kind of figure out how can we continue to have in-person connection in a time where it's difficult to connect. So here are a couple of things that I have done, a couple of things to suggest. When it comes to online, the actual live stream itself, I've discovered that if I leave it just to the people's own devices in terms to connect and to talk in the chat or the comment feature, that maybe a couple of them will engage in that way. But when I ask them to, when I present it to, where are you viewing from? Different questions like that increases the connectivity. Now, in terms of outside of online, that's a bit more tricky. One of the things that we've done is in our service to the community, in our community service part of our church programming, we distribute food. That is an opportunity for people to kind of connect in person in a safe way. And we've also, in our area, we have drive-in church services. So depending on where you're at in California, you can have people come in their cars. They have a chance to see each other in a safe way and safe environment. And we use a FM transmitter to transmit it to the people's radios in their cars. And that's worked really well for us. And it's safe as well. And that gives them something that they can connect with in terms of the service. And when we've done it, I've done it 2 times since the pandemic. The people have really enjoyed it, and it's been a blessing to them.
What we've seen in Northern California Conference is a lot of the pastors have been super creative. They have started phone trees. So as simple as an old phone call, text messaging. Some churches are starting up with some new text messaging because they're finding that emails aren't getting through as well. Email might be dead. So they've got text messaging apps that they're signing up for. They are actually going out, they're giving vaccines, they're volunteering, they're opening their churches to be a site for the vaccine, since it's kind of the big thing right now. They're working with their local Adventist Health for those kinds of things. And they pre-record, they interact. I've seen pastors do some incredible things by being able to reach out. But we've had a little unique situation because we've also had a lot of fires. So we've had pastors, we've had a lot of physical in presence, probably more so, but it's all been, with masks and protected and so on. And our educators, I have to say, our educators, I think, have really gotten it. And I think this comes from Central, actually, that there was a picture of a teacher who was praying on one side and the little girl was praying on the other side. Mm-hmm. And so there are some of these personal interactions via Zoom where you can see people and maybe consider interacting with them, or even, passing by and waving to them. I'd love to see on the news sometimes where they'll do the police cars will go by and go roo, 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 as they're saying happy birthday or something to someone. So, I think you just got to get creative and find ways to do it safely. I think there's ways in which we can do it. We just have to think outside the box until we get back to, if we ever get back to pre-vaccination, pre-COVID time.
If I can add to that, Lori, she mentioned that church formula that we're all familiar with when it comes to the in-person church service. That formula is going to be the prayer, that's going to be song service, that's going to be offertory reading, sermon, what have you. Now, we also want to consider being on a stream, if that's going to be your only platform. If you cannot be in person just yet, you might want to consider that the formula might need to change. Mm-hmm. You might not be able to, or you should not conduct your church service in the same formula as you would in an in-person service. So also consider that what works, and that's also important to look at your analytics. What's working, what doesn't? Are you getting people to drop off when you're doing song service? How you're doing song service, during prayer, during offertory reading? Where are those? What is the analytics telling you? And adjust your formula likewise.
And that's kind of where it needs to take a team, because if you're doing the presenting and you're talking, you do need somebody on the back end monitoring those things, or at least, being able to match up your service as you review your analytics after the fact. Mm-hmm.
Can I jump in and just say one additional thing that has been helpful for us as well is, I know that people love, I see a comment here about seeing others that they don't see for a while. One of the things we did pretty early on was to invite members to share scripture, to share a prayer, other things like that, for them to record themselves. And I didn't have a chance to, and Danilo was grateful enough to share it with me, but there's actually a sheet that gives people best practices to film themselves at home so that they can participate in worship service. So it's just not, the pastor doing everything, or maybe one other person. You can involve other members, and other members can be able to see people, and then inviting them to do that, whether it's share a children's story, a prayer, a brief welcome, which are things that can be done, on their phone, or even recorded through different formats online. We almost made it an hour and a half into this without mentioning the word Zoom, and now it's come up a couple of times. So we're doing pretty good.
Thank you. So we have this question that I want to pass to Danilo. This is a great question, and anybody else that wants to jump in, but I wanted Danilo to kind of talk to tackle that starting off for us.
Yeah, so that's a great question, and something that I can help you. If we can't help you here, you're also welcome to email or call me. It really depends on what your source is. If your source is out of a video switcher, your video switcher might have an auxiliary output that you can also use as a splitter. Mm-hmm. If it's not that, maybe if it's a computer, you can use it, maybe an HDMI splitter, or if it's an SDI output, you can use an SDI splitter and split it that way as well. that might be the easiest way to go.
Anybody else on that one? I thought he did quite well. Okay, here you go, Lori. Here you go, Lori. This is from Lisa. Will the analytics tell us if people jump on during the live stream, if they are rewinding to the beginning of the service, or when they log off?
I don't know if I'm actually the person to ask that. I don't think it gets that specific. Maybe you experts who are a little bit better, but I don't. Does it get that specific?
Yeah, I haven't seen where it drills down that far. It just registers that they are a viewer, not necessarily if they came on in the middle of it and then they scrub back to the beginning, or if they jumped on. I haven't seen it drill down in that much detail.
Yeah,
maybe I'll jump in really quickly on this. And I've one of the services, because I do a lot of pre-recorded elements for our office. I look and we use the distribution of this Vimeo is what we use. I think Danilo actually mentioned that earlier as one of the services. And in that service, but not just there, even on Facebook, if you preload a video, you can actually look quite detailed how long people are watching. So though you this question cannot, I'm not aware that this all of that information that you're asking for, Lisa, can directly be answered. It is still interesting to see how long people are watching your video for, and where people are exiting your video, and you can learn a lot. And I think that goes a little bit with what Sergio just mentioned a few minutes ago. This idea, you can see where people kind of tune off if you do certain things right or not. And there's, I listened a few years ago to Justin Koo, who is a Adventist YouTuber, who talked about analytics of YouTube. You can look at the analytics also of YouTube. It's so incredibly precisely that you can alter and change the way you engage and how you do things depending on what works for your audience. So there are ways that you can learn from the analytics. So it's something I would venture to say many of us have have not paid attention as much to that than what we could. And I think we could learn quite a bit from that.
Here's one from Sue. That's a very good question. Do the analytics tell the stats for those watching the replay of the message?
And I think in some of the comments, I think they've answered it. No, I just watch concurrent viewers and playbacks, and concurrent is the number of people watching at the same time. Playback is if you have a choppy connection. That's what some people are answering in the chat. So I think we can.
Let me maybe throw out a different question. We somehow must have lost BT there for a second. I'm sure he'll be back here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay. But let me maybe throw out this question. This is maybe a question to both Barone and Danilo. Why did you guys not talk about Zoom? So it's Barone, you just said we've gone an hour and a half without talking about Zoom. Why didn't we talk about Zoom earlier?
And Danilo, you can jump in as well. I'll tell you why for me. First of all, let me just say Zoom is not a bad platform. It's just not the best platform for church service. And part of the reason being is that it's hard to really share quality video with Zoom in Zoom's platform. It just doesn't come out very, very good. Also, I think that Zoom is best used in some other church functions. So take, for instance, for prayer meeting or for other small group gatherings where you desire people to actually chip in and talk and share with the audience. That's a great place where Zoom can foster interaction, connection, and community. But during church service, in Zoom, a person, unless you have a really, really good person that's there muting everyone, or you have it controlled in such a way where that doesn't happen, Zoom, sometimes you're catching the dog barking in the background, a person accidentally turns their camera on and turns it off, or different things, or they're walking around, or you're hearing the side conversations. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen just in regular meetings and sometimes in services. And so you got to find out where that sound is coming from. If Zoom is all you have, then there are ways that you can really dig down deep and really kind of not and have a decent experience. But the other thing, and Danilo, maybe you can help and jump in with your reasons. I think that with Zoom, you can only stream to one social media platform at a time. And for my church, we're going to 2. It just wasn't going to work for us. We needed something that can manage more than one location when we were streaming, in addition to those other issues and concerns that I had with Zoom.
Right. If I can jump in on that one, we have to remember the purpose of the platform. Zoom's purpose was to be a video conferencing platform. Can it be used for something else? Yes. I can also take a butter knife to unscrew a screw, but that's not what it was made for. So you can use it for that, even though it's not its purpose. It would be better to use a screwdriver than your butter knife. You know, y'all looking at me strange. Y'all don't have those knives in your thing that got the little bent ends right here. So here's a question that was there. If other devices like a tablet are connected to the Wi-Fi, will they affect the Ethernet connection during streaming?
The answer for that, I would say, is it really depends what the tablet is doing. If you're just surfing the web, maybe you're watching the stream also on the tablet, no, it shouldn't affect it. But if the person hops on a Zoom call or they're on FaceTime, then you're going to start affecting the connection for the stream as well.
Yes. So that's I was going to mention. It just depends on what it is that they are actually doing. I was on a program like this, and the other person started buffering all of a sudden. He was an IT guy, so he looked up and he realized that his 2 kids were in the other room and they both were streaming videos. And so he cut them off because they all 3 were at that point competing for the upload speed of their thing. But yeah, so it just kind of depends on what they're doing on that end. There was a question from the Barone answered it. It was on Ecamm. Barone, somebody did have a question.
Really quick, BT.
Yes, go ahead.
I actually like this comment as going to our previous question. I think this is a really good insight that one of our participants is showing here.
Yes. Zoom is inward looking for the group directly. Yes, exactly.
And I'd also kind of like to add, being in the administration, I have some kids that are in my neighborhood, and I ask them, everybody is tired of Zoom. It is a very energy draining experience because of the visual too. So when you're thinking about it, there is that connection, of course, and there's some things that are wonderful about it. But even now, you're looking at 6 different faces. We're all different. We're all visually different. We have different backgrounds. We're moving. We're doing things. And that is very visually tiring. So it's very hard to keep this up for a good length of time. You might even get some visual headaches from it. So just kind of consider, again, yes, creating that social and that connection, but also understanding. I've been in long Zoom meetings, and at the end of them, it's worse than driving home in LA traffic, and I don't live in LA. So,
yeah. Barone, there was a question about Ecamm. I was looking back forward. If you remember that, you can go ahead and answer that one.
Yeah, her name was Lisa. She asked how many destinations does Ecamm go to, and Ecamm is not a platform that natively to itself pushes out like that. If you partner it, it works seamlessly with Restream, where you can send it out to as many destinations as you desire through Restream. There might be a couple of others that Ecamm connects and does a handshake with to be able to send it out to multiple destinations. But, you know, natively kind of built in, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Facebook, you can go to a couple of other destinations through Ecamm directly. But it also works seamlessly with a platform like Restream to send it out to 4 or 5 and multiple different destinations at once through its platform. So thanks for that question. Just wanted to answer that for you, Lisa, and thanks for your engagement as well. It's been great. Keep those questions coming.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah. Looking through, I was trying to look through while he was talking to see if there were any other questions. I didn't see another one come in.
Well, here's an interesting one from
Yes.
Sue. Length of service, church services. Thinking about what is the optimal time for an online service? We talked about the fact that everything has changed this last year. Actually, let me throw this maybe to Sergio initially, and then the rest of you can kind of pitch in. But I think, Sergio, you talked about that we need to adopt anyways a little bit in church services. If we say a traditional service was over an hour and a half, maybe 2, maybe even beyond 2 hours, is that realistic in an online streaming idea? What's an optimal time?
I would actually say to keep it within an hour max, and that's including all elements of the service, songs, but the most important thing I think you really need to focus on is not necessarily the quantity, but the quality. So if you're providing a lot of engagement, if you're using videos and using a lot of using your church members, getting their prayers in separate videos, using those, if you're using your church members to submit music, use your church members, engage with them, and don't just have the same people every week. Have some diversity in your programming. So focus on quality rather than the quantity. But optimal, I would actually say, in my opinion, 1 hour. But then again, look at your analytics and see what they're showing you, because it may mean you need to go a little shorter.
Thank you. Do any of the rest of you want to pitch in? Like, what do you think about the ideal time?
I would go along with Sergio. I think you really need to look at your analytics. I think there's no stock answer. I think you need to see and track it for some time. Don't just take one Sabbath. Look at it for a period of 3 months. Look at a period of, compare your meetings. Really pay attention to your content. Be very intent about your study. And then I think one of the best things you can do is ask your members. Send them a survey. Ask them, hey, do you want to do an hour format? Do you guys like the 30-minute? Engage your members in a telephone question if you want to do it, or there's a lot of free surveys that you can just send out via email or text. So instead of just trying to guess, find out what your members and what your church wants, and then meet that need and use best practices and continue. But that's engagement. I think a lot of times we sit back and we say, oh, this is what the analytics say, but why do we never ask our members what they really want? And then we learn from that and we adapt and we move on.
So let me follow up really quick with Sergio. Thank you, Lori, for that. Here's a follow-up, Sergio, to your comment about 1 hour. Is that 1 hour per service? So for Sabbath school and for the church service, or do you mean 1 hour for the whole Sabbath experience?
Now that's a tricky one, because then you want to ask yourself, do you want to include a children's service with your main service? Do you want to include Sabbath school with your main service? Should they be separate streams? Should they be different elements as part of your YouTube channel, or at another time slot within your Facebook feed? That's something where each church is really going to have to figure out what works best with the church. Uh, but I would actually say, each element of a service, the Sabbath school, children's service, the main worship service, all should be well done and focused specifically to your audience. Children's ministries should be providing materials for their children. The adult worship should be geared to their direct audience. Again, I can't stress enough quality versus quantity.
Okay, thank you. Varun, I want to pull you in really quickly. You're, out of all of us, you're actually in the church. You have to actually do this. Let me get your 2 cents really quick before we have one more question, and then I don't want to take too much time away because we're going to go to the tech talk here with BT. But where do you stand as a pastor? This is a really tricky question. This is where the rubber hits the road, meets the road. So what do you say to that?
Yeah, so thanks for this question. I just posed this to my church. Actually, we're going to be discussing it next week. So I would say that my average in terms of my church service at the very beginning of the of really kind of strictly going virtual, it was probably about 40 to 45 minutes. We actually average probably just over an hour in length. And we have a lot of different things that are actually a part of our worship service. So I'm doing announcements. We have a couple of songs. We have a prayer. We have a children's story. We're looking to engage a lot of them. I think that, really, Sergio really challenged us well to really say, hey, look, are there some things to kind of let go or maybe adjust or change around? We found that it kind of works for us to have those elements. And I think that an hour is the target that I'm kind of looking at and aiming for each and every week. We also do Sabbath school, and that's prior to church, and that also runs an hour in length as well. But those are all things that we're looking at and re-examining, and we're saying, is this still the answer? That's where we are right now.
Thank you. Before I go to the final question that I want to pose to you guys, really quick, I think this is a great issue. Thank you for putting this in the comments because I 100% agree with this. It is so frustrating when you have speakers that are not directly in a virtual environment that are not directly looking at the camera. And I know it's probably happening to me today because of the larger monitor. I'm trying to look at various different pieces, but looking straight into the camera, connecting with the audience, pretending or thinking through that if I look right into the lens, that the people behind that are going to actually have a better experience. Absolutely spot on comment. Thank you for making that. We did not address that. I did not address in my workshop. So I think, thank you for adding that into that. That's a really important point in whatever function you have in your church. If you're the pastor, remember to look at, if you're part of an AV team, make sure to remind the pastors to look straight into the camera. That is a huge element of engagement. Here's the last question I wanted to throw really quickly at you guys. This question came in. Do the analytics tell us how long folks stay tuned when they join and leave? So one more question about analytics. Who wants to take this one? Barone, I think you're itching to answer this one.
No. I meant you to throw this over toward Danilo because I know that he kind of digs deep into this analytic thing. He kind of knows a bit more than I do. So I don't know. I'm offering up to him to tackle this one.
Yeah, if you actually go into your YouTube studio, if we're talking about YouTube here, if you go into your YouTube studio and your analytics, you can actually select the video and it'll tell you the average duration for each viewer. For us, it's about probably usually the length of the sermon. This seems to be the most popular part for us. And actually, I see we showed my screen here. To answer the other question about the framing guides, this is something that we did here at Loma Linda University Church. We created this PDF document that we share to our presenters, the people that we send out requests to record something, maybe a prayer, maybe a song. We send them this document and it has a bunch of guides on it. There's actually lighting guides and placement as well. If anyone's interested in this, just shoot me an email. I'll put it or ask someone to put it in the comments there in the chat. And then I'm happy to send it to you as well if you need it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I actually have had the privilege of looking at that document. So I think that's a document well worth sharing. Thank you for providing that resource. Even though, so Loma Linda has done this quite a bit, where they've done choirs, orchestras, other musical groups, and that document I think has served you guys very, very well, because the video quality that you get back is no longer is much better than, I'm sure, than without you sending out that documentation. And if I even remember correctly, you guys even go into the explanation of how to set the settings of your video settings in your phone if you're recording with your phone, because some people don't know and they put it on a lower setting. So that document is incredibly helpful. If that is something that is helpful for you in your church, please don't hesitate. Danilo is, and that's a resource that they develop, but they're more than happy to share that. That's an excellent resource that you can share with your members. And that, again, creates engagement in your church service. So first of all, great thank you to all the presenters. I learned quite a bit. I was blessed by their presentation, so thank you to each one of you. We're going to go to the next segment. The next segment is going to be a treat. It's always a treat for me. This is when BT is going to share with us some cool gadgets, some things that you can use in ministry that are going to be really neat and nifty, that you want to take a look, that you want to take note of. You might even want to grab a pencil, grab a piece of paper, grab an iPad, grab a phone, start making notes about all the different cool little gadgets that BT is about to share with you. So here we go. Go on, BT. Thank you. Let me just get you, BT, you're not here. We need to unmute you.
There we go. Thank you very much for you all hanging in there with us, and we're glad that you're here. Just want to share this evening as we talk about Tech Talk today. I want to begin with, I'll start with this device here. This is the ATEM Mini Pro. It is a switcher, and the ATEM Mini Pro is an encoder. So as you see, I can go between my main camera here in front of me, or I can go to the overhead camera that's just over my shoulder that's coming down here. The ATEM Mini Pro will use 4 HDMI cameras that you can plug in. You can switch between them. It's a great device. They have the ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini Pro. Here's the major difference between the two. The ATEM Mini Pro will allow you to natively stream from the device. You will not need a computer. You can plug in the Ethernet cable, hit on air, and you are live. So here we have the on air button just off to the side here. If I hit it right now, then it would immediately begin streaming to the destinations that I have it set up for. Right now, I have it set up for our YouTube channel here at the church, and it will go live just from that device right there without the use or need to have a computer to encode it and to stream it through that. So that's the main difference between the ATEM and the ATEM Mini Pro. You can bring in 4 HDMI cameras, 2 audio sources, and this little device here is in essence the same as their large switcher that they have. So this is a great piece that you have there to use for streaming, for anything that you want to do, especially if you're streaming on the go. For churches that are doing a lot of outdoor services, this is the device that we use at our church for our outdoor services, and we use it to stream everything that's there. So that's the ATEM Mini Pro. So if you want to use that, that's a great option. Let me show you another one. So now we talked about that. What if you have, so the camera that I'm using here in front of me, and most of the cameras that you would use would have HDMI outs. The question then is, how do you take an HDMI out camera and get it into your computer or something like that? Then the easiest way is, let me take you there so you can actually see this. The easiest way is with this little device here. It is a video capture device. It is HDMI in and it's USB out. So if you have an HDMI camera and you are trying to go directly to your laptop, or you're trying to go directly to your laptop or directly to another computer that has a USB in, then you would need to have a video capture device. The one that I showed you is probably one of the best ones that I found in that price range. They're about $15 a piece. And at that price, it's really hard to beat that. So the other question then is, how do you use a XLR microphone and get it into your stream? Because your computer does not have an XLR port. So you would need to have some type of audio interface. I'm going to show you the one that I use now. And well, it's kind of hard to see it that way. Let's do it this way. And it is the Focusrite. I'm able to bring in my XLR into it. I have the headphone jack and I can monitor it here. It has phantom power for your larger mics that need phantom power. And it gives you a HD, it gives you a USB out that's there. And my dear friend just took over my camera there. So, or did my camera just go out?
I think your camera went out. There you are.
My camera went out. That is interesting. Okay, so my audio is in. So let me get my camera. I unplugged it. So that will happen if you unplug your camera. It will go out on you. Sorry about that, everybody. I didn't mean to send you off into that strange land there. But it gives you your XLR in. I have two XLRs, and you can have it's the USB out. So that's a great way to do that. If you have a device like the Zoom H8, this is the H8. It has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 XLR inputs. But if you have one of these recorders, they have an audio interface built into them that you can plug your XLR mic in, use the audio interface, and then use the USB out to go into your computer to give you the audio interface that you need. So that's for those three. I'm going to show you a couple of great microphones. Audio is everything. Here is the Rode NT Mini USB. It is a great little mic. It's by Rode. They make great products. This mic is probably less than $100, and it works very, very well. I was introduced to a microphone on a stream by a friend who went out right quick to buy one because the one that we sent them did not arrive in time. And so they used this little boy here, which is great. It is the Samsung Go. It's a great mic. Now, Samsung discovered that they had greatly underpriced this one. When they introduced this little thing here, it came out at $29. I looked the other night and it had gone up to $89. I did see it on Amazon for like $49, but that is another one that is a great one to use that will give you excellent sound. I believe it was Barone that kept pressing you as much as possible to use Wi-Fi, not to use Wi-Fi, I'm sorry, and to hardwire. So here is the question. What if you're in a place in your house where you cannot hardwire, but you have your studio set up someplace else, such as where I am now, and there is not a hardwire? I'll come back to that, John. Somebody remind me of that. And you cannot hardwire in. Well, Netgear makes this little device here. They make this device here, and it is a internet adapter. And what it has is an Ethernet port on the bottom. So you take this device, you plug it into the wall, you come out of your router into this device. You take the other one wherever you want to set up in your house, plug the other end into the power outlet and the Ethernet cable into it. And what it does is it uses the wiring in your house to transmit the internet connection. It's a great option unless you want to get a 100-foot Ethernet cable and run it all over your house and create a trip hazard. But this is a very good option for that. If you'll put John's question back up, I'll go back to that question. How does, and so I believe he is asking, how does this Rode compare to the Blue Yeti? They are very comparable in price. They're both about right around $100. This one compares greatly with it. I have a Blue Yeti, and I have this one. I think I perhaps like this one a little more than the Blue Yeti. It's hard to see it, but this mic here is a blue, and it is the baby bottle blue. It's about twice the cost. But between this Rode NT and the Blue Yeti, they're pretty comparable, not just in price, but in terms of quality and the sound that you receive and produce from them on those. So those are great. It was Barone that talked about lighting. And if you are in your home, I believe it's Lori that says that she's using her laptop and she's probably using the webcam that's on her laptop. And so she's doing that. You still want to be concerned about lighting and what the best way to get lighting in. And to do that, here's one that I found that works great. And that is the Luma Cube. The Lume Cube, Lumecube. It is a LED light. I'll just share with you on the back. It is dimmable. So you can go from, I'm not going to turn it to you because it's super bright, from 100% down to 1%. It is bicolor. So you can change the Kelvin. If you want it to be warmer, you can take it to 3200 all the way up to 5600, which is daylight. This is a great one. It's small. You can take it. It has a suction cup that comes with it that you can put on the back of your laptop to put the light right in your face. And it is a powerful little light. I'll turn it on and you can see here just how bright that little thing gets just from the light itself. So and that's only at 1%. So we'll give you so that you can, let's see here. There we go. Now that's at 100%. That's just super bright, but it is dimmable and you can create it and bring it down to whatever you need to give you the light that you want. But that's Luma Cube. And it is a great little small light that you can use to get some things done. So those are some of the fun things that are out there that you can use, some of the fun things that are around to help you get what you need done. There are options everywhere. The key is to find what you need, become proficient in using it, and use to your best. I have one more I want to show you before we get to the fun part. And that is this. This is called the Stream Deck, and it is hotkeys. You create hotkeys to do various things. You can mute. I have it just kind of set up generically right now. One of those is to mute a mic. The two here are for PowerPoint. These two here are for Keynote. I can go next slide or previous slide. Some of those things I can brighten its screen. I can click my timer. There's just various things. If we're using Streamyard now, I can click this one and it will take the shot to a solo like it is now with just one person on the screen. And that's called the Stream Deck. And it's a very great device to use. So I'm going to throw it back to Eno now. I thank you for the time just to share some of the latest and greatest things that I found and been able to share with you today. So Eno, there you go, my friend.
Well, thank you for sharing some of those elements and for some of those technical devices that you have. We are close to the end of our program, but one of the things that we'd like to do is we believe that ministry is an important thing to happen in our local churches. And one of the things that we wanted to do, that when we planned this event, we wanted to also make sure that we gave some prizes away to you. So we're going to ask a few questions. I'm actually going to invite Lori and Sergio to come in. And what we're going to do is, this is how it's going to go. Actually, before I go into the giveaways, I just see this actually happen. So if you look at your live stream, wherever you've been, BT, I think you just shared that link with us.
Yes.
That's the link that Danilo shared. That's the resource page. So those of you that were asking for, that sheet that gives some of the guidance about how to frame, how to set up the cameras, what to give to your members. If you want them to participate in your live stream event where they submit a video to you, that's the instructions that I believe the Loma Linda University Church uses. And that link that is in your live stream, that's what you can use to be able to get that resource. So thank you, Danilo, for making that so quickly available to us. And you can have that, and you can do that. So without further ado, what we're going to do, we're going to pose some questions. We're going to watch the comment section, and whoever answers the question first wins the prize. So maybe, BT, do you want to tell us what the first prize is? Do you have that list available?
I don't have it in front of me, but I have no, I don't have that list directly in front of me.
Okay. So I think the first prize that we're going to give away is a portable charger. It's that 10,000 milliamp charger. Power is everything these days. We're on the road, your phone dies, your light goes out. Having an external power bank is always something that you want. So the first question is, what is one of the most forgotten elements in recording videos?
Whoever answers that first wins that device. So type in quick.
Maybe let me ask Sergio. Do you have any power banks, Sergio?
I could always use more.
You can always use more. Nice.
All right, we got answers. Audio, light, audio. Dwight David.
So Dwight David, you are correct, sir, and you were the first one. The rest of you that participated, thank you for participating. We have a few more questions for you, so don't worry. We'll get to that next. I will pull up the next question here in just a second. So congratulations, Dwight. You just got yourself a portable power bank.
Yes. So the next question, my friend, there is the Joby tripod, the little mini tripod. That's a great little device. That's just not the tripod. It's bendable, so you can wrap it. There we go. There's one right there. You can wrap it around things. It's a great device. It will hold about up to 5 pounds, 5 to 6 pounds. So you can put a nice size camera on there, and still go. You can put a DSLR on there. So the question for that is, what are the 4 elements for good video? Who has that one? 4 elements for good video. We can't miss and forget that Miss Julie is backstage, and she's watching that chat, and she is seeing who's the first one in. And so we are glad that Miss Julie is there keeping life. And so we have Sue, audio, light, stabilization, and focus. Is that correct, Mr.
That is correct.
That is correct. So that gift goes to Miss Sue. All right, Miss Sue. Thank you very much. The third gift we have here is our LED floodlights. If you look behind me, someone mentioned earlier that they liked my setup, and I thank you very much. And right behind me, I have a couple of the little LED lights that are giving us the color. You can change them to whatever color you want them to be. We're going to give away a set of those. It's actually 4 of those that we'll be giving away. And so what is the question for the next prize? What is the final step before finalizing your video? What is the final step before finalizing your video?
John Cecil, rewatch for errors.
Rewatch for errors. Wow, he was fast on the draw. And that is correct. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We're going to move to Baron's section. If you were listening to Baron, you should be ready because he was very good. So here we go. And for Baron's section, the gift that we're going to give away is, well, let's do it the right way so that you can see, is we actually have one of the capture devices that you can use. And so the question for that is, what are the 3 things needed to go live for a service? The 3 things needed to go live for a service. That's 2. Checking. Wow, Baron, I don't know. Maybe you stumped him, Baron. So someone said camera, mic, internet. That was, yes. Where's Baron? I see Baron. Where's Baron? There he is. He said
I'm right here.
He said that is correct.
It.
Okay, he said that.
Internet, camera, microphone, either combination. Look, they're all floating in right now. Yeah. I'm seeing them there. Yeah, that's absolutely what you need, and in order to go live. So well done, everyone. And
yeah. So our next gift is
Hang on, BT. I'm running. I think we're running into a little bit of an issue, and that is we don't know always with some of these accounts. We don't know who the person is on the other end. So if you can identify yourself, who you are, then we know who actually the prize goes to. So that's something that would be helpful for us on our end. If you could identify who you are and what church you are. So please, if you don't mind, after you got selected for a prize, tell us if it's not clear that it's your name, tell us your name and how we can get in touch with you. That would be really, really helpful. Thank you.
Yes.
And also make sure Julie Lorenz put her email into the chat. So please make sure to send your address to that chat as well. I mean, to that email. Sorry.
To that email, yes. To that email. Yeah, to that email. So our next prize is we're going to give away a power bank for those times when you are out and you need to have some power and some juice because your cell phone died on you or your iPad died. And so this one that we're giving away is 10,000 milliamps. That's a great one. And this gives you a lot of power on the go. And our question that you're ready for, if you're ready, here we go. Here's our question for that one. Name a streaming platform that can stream your service to multiple locations. A platform that can stream to multiple locations.
While people are typing that in, had I known that the prizes were going to be so good, I might have just chosen to be a viewer, You guys are giving away some great stuff. I pulled out, paid some good money for the Joby one that I have here. I could have gotten one for free. So, this is great. You guys are giving this away. Okay, here they are.
Streamyard. I saw Dwight David. Is that right, Julie? Dwight
so
David?
It is correct, but I'm going to make a veto rule here. Sorry. The first 2 comments were by Dwight and by Sue. I'm going to disqualify them since they already won a prize. So you can blame me for that, but we're going to go with number 3, which is Lisa in this particular case.
All right, Lisa. Okay, great.
But I love the participation, so keep that going.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Well done, guys. Well done.
Yes, and so the next one from Baron's section is this little guy right here, the Samsung Go mic. It's a great little mic. Wow. And what is the question for that?
I want one.
She said, I want one. What are the two major platforms that most people view video on? The two major platforms that most people view video on.
You know, this is also a test of how people performed in typing class. You know,
Typing class, yes, it is.
There it is.
Is that it? That's it.
That's it. That's
Facebook and YouTube.
Most people are going to go and they're going to watch videos on these two platforms online. It's so popular and they're huge. So well done, guys. Well done.
So just be sure to let us know who you actually are. And because it says the name of the church, just let us know who you are. So we're going to move on to the advanced section where Danilo was. Where is Danilo's over there? There's my man, Danilo. So let's talk about the prize for Danilo. I would show it to you, but I'm using both of them right now, and it is a mini tripod. The camera in front of me is using one, and the camera behind me is using one, but it's a mini tripod. That's the next prize. So, Mr. Quizman, if you will give me the question for tonight, for this section, what is the largest CDN in the world? The largest CDN in the world. Wow, that's bad. I should have been paying more attention. I have to think about that one now. The largest content delivery network in the world. I think I know what it is, though.
Clovis.
Is that the same Dwight, or is that a different Dwight?
That is the same. I just put up the first answer, but here's going to be. So you're right on the mark, Dwight.
Dwight is on it. We're going to have to do something special with Dwight. He was paying attention in class today.
we need to have a highest engager prize.
The higher engaged prize. Yes.
The person who engaged the most. You know, Dwight is doing amazing.
The highest engager prize. And so that's Clovis. So Sergio, this is your area, isn't it? In Clovis in your area? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think most of the prizes have been from Central.
Oh my.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, we got to get Southeastern to step up to the plate then. Wait, hold on. And Northern, huh? And Northern, yeah. Got to get Northern to step up to the plate. So that is, David said, can I switch my prizes? and so our next one is we're going to go back to our next one, and it is another one of the mini capture devices. It's another one of the mini capture devices for the next one, and the question for that is, with an internet connection of 250 megabits down and 11 megabits up, can I reliably stream in 4K?
Oh,
yeah, these are the advanced questions for the advanced class.
That's a Danilo question. I know what that's. Yeah, what that is.
Prizes. They didn't cut questions.
Yeah. What is that? Let's see who says that. Elbert Westcott said no.
That is correct.
that is good.
Says that is correct. So he must be from Northern. Is that from Northern?
Hey, somebody.
Yeah. All right. They said no. Okay, let's go to our next prize here. And I will just say this. Oh, it is a selfie light for your phone.
Oh.
For those who are doing FaceTime calls and doing Zoom on their phone or iPad, it's a selfie light for that. So the question for that is, what video codec does YouTube Live ingest? Yikes.
It wasn't just an advanced class. I mean, the language has got to be advanced as well.
I know.
We're gonna bring people's language up. I love it.
Yeah, man.
Wade said ring.
Wait, who was it again? I'm sorry.
Wade Forday said ring.
Oh, Wade said ring. That's correct, Danilo?
That is not. H264, that's it.
So someone said this. H264.
Come on now.
Is that correct, Mr. Danilo?
That is correct.
That is the correct codec that YouTube uses to ingest video, H.264. And so that is for this church as well as Clovis. Miss Julie has said she has your gift. She has it ready for you to go, but she has no idea who it is from Clovis Church. So be sure to contact her. So she lets her know, as well as this last person that just won from the church that's there. All right. So now we're moving over to Lori's section. Wow. I sure hope that you were paying attention in Lori's section, because
This is a good one.
are you ready? Are y'all ready? Boy, I wish I had my eCam running right now. I would do a drum roll, but I don't have eCam
I
running.
do need a drum roll. For this one, we do
Here
need a
is
drum
the
roll.
gift. Here is the gift. Let me move everything else out the way so y'all don't get confused. Here we go.
Yeah, I know. I'm so glad that you moved everything out of the way, BT, because every time you show that view, I keep thinking that the Stream Deck is going to be the next prize giveaway.
So here is the prize. It is the Rode NT USB Mini. That is the next prize that's coming up. Lori had the great prizes. Okay, and the question for that is, here we go. Why should your visual presentation improve? Why should your visual presentation improve? What do we have? Let's see.
Folks are thinking because this was this.
So
was,
Better engagement.
I do see an answer.
Yep. Better engagement. Yep.
Is that a different person, or is that the same person?
No, it's all the same people. They were the ones that were listening. Yep.
Is this a different person? How about this?
Yep, that's a
There
different.
we go.
That's a new
That's the
person.
winner.
Mhm.
Okay, there we go. Congratulations, Dan. Wow. Just for those who are looking, they just, they may not see it again, but there you go. Now you can look at Dan and say, "Oh my goodness, what about that? So that's the gift for Dan. I'm so sorry, Barone. I know, I'm so sorry.
I mean, I just, it is what it is, man. I'm glad that we're being a bless. I bet the people that were tuning in had no idea that they could actually walk away with something for free just for coming in and bettering themselves. So this is great. Keep it rolling.
Coming in, yes. So here is the next one. We're gonna give another selfie light for your phone away. We're gonna give another one of those selfie lights for the phone. What is that question? How do you determine if your viewers are engaged? How do you determine if they are engaged? That was a great presentation on engagement. I enjoyed that. I was trying to write down and produce at the same time, so I got some questions. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it so that I can actually take better notes on this one. How do you determine if your viewers are engaged? I almost said the answer that I would give, but then I don't want to give it away if it's the wrong one. So I see two answers here. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's definitely analytics. Yep.
Analytics.
Or survey, or asking them, or talking to them.
Or talking
Nice
to them.
job.
Okay. Congratulations, Walter. We're glad that you are right there with us. We're glad you're right there
Oh, I
with
think
us.
Albert, did he get Walter? Yes.
Walter. Yes, Walter. Okay, and here we go. We have one more from her section, and it is, I think Barone has one of these. Do you have your lavalier mic there, Barone?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, so we are giving away a USB-C lavalier mic. USB-C lavalier mic for all of the Mac heads out there. It's going to plug directly in. USB-C lavalier mic. You can clip it on. You are good to go. Great audio from that. And the question for that is, why do you financially help your family and loved ones? That was a great question, Lori, and she gave us a great reason why we have those answers. Why do you financially help your family and loved ones?
And while people are typing in their answers, a lavalier microphone is great because it allows you to have your hands free and you don't have a microphone in front of you. And so for those that are doing presentations or preaching, a good lavalier mic is going to be something that is golden for you and just help visually overall.
Yes.
Those that are doing
I'm looking.
So the question here is, Lori, do you accept feel blessed? Is that the adequate response?
Love is the response.
So have we seen?
Here we go.
Yeah. All right. Jason was very involved in the chat with comments and questions. So congratulations, Jason. We are glad for you. Now,
Jerome, I think.
I'm sorry. Oh, Jerome. I'm sorry, Jerome. And now we are moving to the Tech Talk section. So y'all should flood with these. These answers should be really quick because if I don't see any answers, then I'm gonna think I was a terrible teacher because that means no one was paying attention. But we'll find out really fast here, though. Here is. Are you ready for this? Here is. This is the first prize that we're going to give away, and it is a video conference light. It's a video conference light that you can use when you're doing your video conferencing on your computer or device. And the question is, what do you need to get audio into your stream if you use an XLR microphone? What do you need to get audio into your stream if you use an XLR microphone?
You know what I keep hearing? I keep hearing the Jeopardy music, in my mind.
You keep hearing that music in your mind? Yeah. And there, I do see it. I see two people. I don't know, which person it is, but two people did get it.
I think both of them have actually.
We're still waiting.
Yeah.
You're still waiting? He says that we are still waiting. Okay, I see Ted. And he gave. I will accept that he gave the brand device. It's an audio interface. But he said the audio interface with 8 connections for audio. The Zoom interface, yes. So he's not talking about Zoom the video conferencing. He's talking about Zoom the recorder device. This Zoom so that is Ted. Ted, congratulations on that. And you are the winner. Here we go. Yes.
And can I just say one additional thing about that? It was so great. The interface, the audio interface, there's so many of them online. You use the Focusrite BT to plug in XLR cables, and of course you can use that Zoom audio device that you just showed there, the H8. But there are lots of different ones out there that you can use. I have a PreSonus, and there are many other companies that make audio interfaces for computers to plug in XLR microphones.
That's very, very true. Very true. So what gift did he just win? He won the light, correct? So here we go. Correct. Our next gift is another USB-C lavalier mic. We have another mic to give away, and that person will answer this particular question here. What do you need if you want to get your HDMI camera into your stream? What do you need to get your HDMI camera into your stream, into your computer stream, going directly to your computer? Is what it's asking. I thought I saw someone typing, but they're not. Oh, man. Oh, wow. Let's see if he gets it back in time. If you use ATEM Mini Pro, it acts as a video and audio interface as well. That is correct. That is correct, Victor. Thank you.
I'm almost tempted to pull a family card here. I don't know if Victor is answering the question or if he's just making a comment. I'm not sure. I thought he was making a comment. I don't know if he's making a comment or not. I think we should honor his comment and nevertheless.
Then you honor his comment.
Oh, he said, wait, that wasn't an answer. He just put that in there into the comment.
Okay, all right.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I didn't think he was answering. I thought he was making a comment for
Victor
some-
just talked himself out of a gift. So
yeah. So put the question up one more time.
Great.
Okay.
hang on,
Put the question up
just a
one more
second.
time.
The question was,
What do you need if you want to get your HDMI camera into your stream? And who did you say answered that one?
here.
Yes, a video capture device. That is correct. A video capture device. Wow, y'all were paying attention. USB, HDMI capture card, HDMI to USB. Wow. Okay, maybe I wasn't so bad today after all. And then we have one more. We have one more gift that we're going to give away in here, and it is another power bank, 10,000 milliamps. Who is that lucky winner? What is the major difference? Oh, you had it.
Yep,
What is
so
the major difference between the ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini Pro? The major difference between the ATEM Mini and the ATEM Mini Pro. Who is that lucky winner? Well,
And might I add that ATEM Mini Pro is just a great piece of gear for anyone looking to go to the next level.
yes.
It's worth the investment. It's just sometimes you look at the price tag because there are others that do something similar, and you might find something that's really cheap. But let me tell you, it's worth the investment to get something that's high quality. Blackmagic makes great products. So invest in that.
Well, Elbert was typing really fast. You all look at Elbert. He was typing really fast. he was typing really fast. He said the Mini Pro. Oh, doesn't need a computer. Okay, that's what he's saying. Yeah, but has Edward won already?
He has.
He has. Has Lisa won already?
Lisa has one as well.
Lisa has. Edward said his finger slipped. Jerome, the ATEM Mini Pro is yes, that is true. And Pro to Lead. Yes. In fact, it was funny because he had answered one of the questions before we even answered it, and so I thought the question had gone up early. Wait, the Pro
Live streaming.
the live streams. Yes, yeah. He said sorry streams. Yes, the Pro goes directly to live stream, and that is correct, Mr. Vladimir. I am not going to attempt to pronounce your last name, but I am going to say congratulations, sir.
Let me just double check that. That is indeed. I'm checking with Julie really quick. He has not won. Vladimir, you have not won. So yes, that prize is yours.
All right. Thank you so much. That is great. So now I do see here, Mr. Executive Producer, that I see a section that says additional gifts. Are those additional gifts that we just going to give to additional people?
I figured if we have two more gifts that we can hand out, but you may have to come up with a smart question. Or maybe actually, you know what? We haven't heard much from Sergio. I'll pitch a question to you first, and we'll give Sergio the chance to give away the last gift, which is one more power bank. That'll be the gift that Sergio will give away. Sergio will give you a second to ponder what question you want to throw out.
His question.
But BT, do you have a question really quick that you can come up with as the second to last gift?
For the second to last gift. Yeah, but it has nothing to do with what we talked about, though. It had everything to do with that sweatshirt that Barong has on that I want.
I have a gift. I have a
You
question.
do? Okay, there you go, Lori. There we
I'll give
go.
a question. Hopefully, guys, get yourselves typed. It's easy. You can do it. Get it. Get ready. Here we go. What platform are we currently using right now for this program?
Oh, that's a great question.
That's a great question.
That's a great question. Yes, that is.
Come on.
That's a great question.
What platform are we currently using?
Yes, that's a great question. And the fingers are typing.
Ah.
Let's keep those that are out there.
I I think that's a new name right there. Isn't that a new name?
The new name.
That is a new name.
That's Amy. And you are correct, Amy. We are using StreamYard. And right now we are streaming to 5 destinations on StreamYard.
So did you say what the gift was for this one?
I thought you said it was the power bank.
No, the power bank was the very last gift we were going
Oh,
to
the power bank was the very last gift. Oh, okay. So no, I did not say what this gift was.
Well, congratulations, Amy, for that unknown gift.
For Amy, what we have, BT, is we have a USB charging station
It's charging station. Okay, there we go. Okay.
that you can do a fast charge that does both USB-C and USB 3.0. So, or USB 3. So that's a quick charging device for any of your electronic gadgets.
You know, one of the things that I wanted to throw in here as well, StreamYard is simple enough. If you're looking for additional engagement, this is a great way for young adults and your teenagers to get involved in live streaming. It's something that they can learn pretty quickly. My kids have actually helped me with live streams. It's that simple and easy. Other pastors or other people can utilize and activate young people, and you don't have to be in the same location. So this is also something where you can socially distance and have someone that's helping you run the stream. All 6 of us are in a different location, in different homes, in different places, but our BT and NO are there in the backside helping to actually produce the program itself, and they're in different places. So StreamYard is a great place to activate more people, especially young people and your youth, to give them something to do and get them involved in church service.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay, so final question now from Sergio.
Mr. Sergio,
This one's going to be a tough one.
with that wonderful mic. Doesn't that mic sound wonderful? This is wonderful. Oh
This-
my, that's wonderful.
For all of you who are asking about it, because I know you're all asking, this is the Rode Procaster mic.
Yes.
It'll run you about $230, I believe.
30. Yeah, it's like 230. Yeah.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so for this last question, this is going to be a tough one. This is going to see if you were a little bit proactive in the message. So the link that Danilo sent out, what is 1, 2, and 3 on the top part of it?
Oh, wow. Nice. Wow. That's testing engagement right there.
Mhm.
That is testing engagement. So you know what everybody's doing right there. They're like, come on, Google, hurry up. Hurry up, Drive. Come on, Google Drive, open up, hurry up.
And that's great. That's great, Sergio, because now
Yeah.
all people are going to have that downloaded and be able
Yes.
to share it with the members that are looking to film something for church service this upcoming Sabbath. So it's going to be great for them.
Yep,
Yeah.
Yep.
Sue says, Mr. Radio DJ, so she loves the mic and the voice. So John gave the answer, but we have to see if Danilo says that is correct.
That is correct.
That is light, look, and listen, John. Oh, wow. Wait, John's going to make sure that he got it in. He came in on YouTube and on Facebook. John's like, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm going both places. I'm going both places, first and second, on YouTube and on Facebook. And it looks like Julie is checking the record back there. I haven't seen her nod yes or no. You know, we've been hiding Miss Julie. Let's bring Miss Julie in. There she is. All right, Julie.
Sorry, my screen went off for just a second. So, did you ask me a question?
No,
No.
we said that John was the one who answered that question correctly, but we didn't know if, as Eno says, if he's eligible to win again.
He has already won.
He has already won. Oh, wow. If that's not the easiest question that we've given all night, I don't know which one is. Wow. And so no one else wants that. Oh, my.
Now, look, we're all part of the Adventist Church. You know, we just really wanted to end this on the perfect number here. So there's 7 of us here in the stream right now. We just want to make sure that we accomplished this part of the goal and the sharing today, to make sure that we had 7 of us that are involved at one time in one stream going out to. I wish I could say 7 destinations, but it's actually 5. So
we went to 5. Yes.
That works. That works.
Yes.
So I think we're still waiting for the answer for something to pop up. Oh,
There it
you
is. Well, Clovis has been there already. Yeah, Clovis answered earlier,
I say
and,
give it to him.
and so Lisa said, "Give it to him," because no one else has. Yeah, Sue has answered, but I already won too. Lisa said, "Oh,
So-
Lisa, he's listening on. He answered on 2 different platforms. He should get it. He answered on 2 different platforms."
I'm with Lisa on this one for the effort of trying to get the answer in on 2
Yes.
different platforms.
Yes, Mr.
We will be
John.
happy to give it to Mr. John. Thank you, everyone. Again, thank you to all of our presenters. Thank you for all of you that have attended. Looking at the numbers, I can see we've come in. We've said this. We're coming to the end of our program. Thank you so much for participating, for engaging. This was a first, 3 conferences coming along. It's geographically, we're far apart, some of us. We're stretching a huge territory, but this is the beauty about what we talked about exactly tonight. It doesn't matter if you're in the absolute northern part of our of the state of California, or if you're in the absolute southern part of the state. We are able to engage with you through live streaming through this platform, and that is the same way that we can engage with church members that may have one time that were one time in your church that have moved away. This is a new reality that we've been facing, and it's beauty, and there's many great opportunities. So I hope that the presentations that you heard this afternoon is something that you can take back to your church, that you can adapt some things, that you can move forward. And ultimately, what we hope for you is that through what you heard today, I know we may be on the technical side, we may be the AV people, we may be the ones that have to sit behind the computer, and it doesn't always feel like we're doing ministry directly. But I think that has dramatically changed in the last 10, 12 months. We have the capacity, you as media people, as pastors, as the tech person, as the camera operator, as the live stream operator, you have the opportunity to be able to engage. So thank you for what you do. I'm going to ask Lori and Sergio to maybe say something as well, because I know we have 3 different conferences here. So let me maybe throw it over to Sergio.
I first and foremost want to thank all of you for including Central in this presentation and giving us this platform to share with our constituents in the Central California Conference. Now I want to direct my messages to Central California as well as everyone else, but we do have resources for you with the within the YouTube channel, Central California youtube.com/CCCSDA. We have tons of videos on there, and if you scroll to the bottom, you'll see some of the ministries. If you look up Creative Arts, that's another YouTube channel that we manage that has tips and tricks, tutorials on digital media, how to use some of the platforms that were discussed here today, as for example, OBS, how to set your live stream up using OBS, and so on. And we're going to continue to be using that YouTube as a platform to share any questions that we may get and any tutorials. So reach out to us. We are the Creative Arts Department at the Central California Conference. And with any questions, if you want us to create a video for you, we are more than happy to do that for you. Thank you.
Nice.
I also want to say thank you very much to all the presenters on behalf of Northern California Conference. It's been absolutely amazing, and I am absolutely ecstatic about the fact that we have 3 conferences collaborating, and I certainly hope that we can continue doing this. This type of collaboration, of course, can happen, and I encourage pastors from all of our conferences to reach out to us as communication directors or in your communication department and let us know the topics that you're interested in. I want to thank Enno absolutely for his time today and for he really pulled this together, and it's been absolutely amazing, and Sergio for joining us here, and want to thank again all of you who have been watching and participating. You've taken a Sunday out, and we hope that it has been beneficial to you and that it will bless your ministry, and the Holy Spirit will continue working in all of our conferences as we move through this pandemic during this time. There's hope, guys. There's hope. We'll do it. We'll get through it. So thank you for participating.
So maybe BT, I'm going to pick on you. Would you we started with prayer. Maybe we can end with prayer as we close this workshop and this time that we have together.
Let's pray together. We thank you, God our Father, for the privilege to be able to meet together in this fashion, to be able to come together as creatives and to share what you've given to us that we can bless others with. We pray now that things that we have heard today, that we've seen, that we've experienced, that we can now take them to our churches and to our ministries to help spread the gospel in this time, to engage members and to make connections. Thank you for your blessings and be with each one of us this evening. For Christ's sake we pray. Amen.
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 Thank you all. Have a good evening.